Hey guys, Jeff here, and we're at the Florida house. We're going to show you the process of building this custom shower from the framing out. Now, if you hired a contractor for a job like this, probably going to cost you between $12,000 and $15,000. But because we're doing it ourselves, we save a ton of money and built all of that for about $2,500. Cheers. Okay guys, it's closing time, right? So here we are, got my shower ready to go. I'm using cement board. Now, let me just talk about the process here. You have to make a decision when you're doing a shower. There's a lot of different options, okay? The system I'm going to use is a cement backer board, not a drywall. They've come a long way with the technology, the application, and the price. It's very, very reasonable now. So yes, it's more expensive than drywall. It cost me about $200 to do all of this in cement board versus, I don't know, maybe $100 in drywall, right? Not even. So yeah, it's an investment, but it's one of those things where no matter what waterproofing system you're going to use, and no matter what the claims are that they make, everything is subject to failure based on the integrity of the installation. Nobody's perfect. We're all going to make mistakes. Then using a system that allows you a lot more mercy if you make a mistake is a really great system. So for instance, if I go with cement board, the wall board itself will never decay even if water gets into it, okay? So then I've got lots of options for how I want to finish. I can use a red guard paint and I can tile right over that with thin set. I can use a sheet membrane and I can do all of that waterproofing and vapor barrier proofing as well, right? Make it vapor proof. But this is not a budget shower for me. I'm not going to go through all of this work to build something beautiful custom that isn't going to last 50 years. So we're going with the cement board. But basically what you want to remember when you're doing something like this, anything that finishes on an open wall, you can do at the end, okay? Anything that's in an alcove, which means it's like the letter C. So I got a wall, I got a cross, and it comes out again. These kinds of areas have to be done first, okay? So I've got an alcove over here, and I got 2 alcoves here. So those are the 3 walls that I want to start with, because every other measurement I take, I want to take once those walls are installed, because it moves, right? It adjusts. So if I measure this right now, it's 23. But once that cement board's on, it's only 22.5. So to keep your life simple, pick your alcove walls, close them first, and then work your way out of the shower, all right? It's that simple. It's going to make life real easy for you. So let's get our measurements for the alcove and we'll start cutting cement board. This is exactly 32 frame to frame, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to cut it 31.5. This is not finished carpentry. You don't have to make it perfect. What you have to do is make sure that there's an overlap. So a 1/4 inch gap on each side makes the installation simple, and it makes sure that the next 1/2 inch board will have positive contact at the joint. That's really all we're looking for, okay? We don't have to make sure that it's tight to the wood. So it's 31.5 top, middle, and bottom because we built this with a laser level, and that makes our life simple. Here we go, and we are at 90 inches. Okay, 90 inches. Now the board itself comes 36 by 5 foot, which is 60. So I'll put the first piece in. I've got a little adjustment to make here because this light box is in the way. And we're gonna address that in a little later in the video as to how we're gonna build out around this. That's that one. We got measurement here, 39, so we'll go 38.5. I'm gonna have a 36-inch piece, which goes to there. So I'm gonna cut that piece in first, and then I'm gonna measure up to my corners to be able to draw that line. This one is the same, 36. And then I'm going to cut another piece for this and another piece that goes on top. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hang my 36 from this edge, going down. I don't mind if I got a 3-inch piece on the bottom because I'm going to be beefing up my floor almost 3 inches as well. So it'll only just be there to kind of give some backing to put everything together with a thin set later. And I don't want to have a joint on my wall just after my shower. That would increase the likelihood of failure. And let me just cut those and we'll get started. All right, so here's our new cement board. They got a new product out here and they've actually increased the waterproofing of the system. It's built into the mix, so that's nice. Never be afraid of an improvement that just makes good sense like that. I'm still gonna rely on a waterproofing system in addition to that, and it costs a few more bucks, but in today's market, sometimes, you know, you just gotta buy what's available on the shelf. They're gonna select for you what your options are. I'm out of town, so I don't have my own cement blade. So I had to buy a new one, and Diablo makes one for cement board. It's called the Hardy blade. They've obviously joined teams, and this is Hardy backer board. So that's what's going on there. It's exactly the same as the one I have at home. It's 4 blades. It cuts cement board. Let me just suggest, whenever you're putting a cord together on an extension, tie it in a knot and then plug them together. You will find that it is much less likely that that's going to come apart halfway through your cut. There we go. Yeah. I'm going to be moving a little slow here today because I don't have a drywall square. Those are my measurements. The other option for this, of course, and I know even with dealing with cement board, you can do this. You can take your first mark, put your marker on it, set your finger up as a guide. Let me show you how well this works. Well, I'm close. That's human error. Whew. Yep, that makes a lot of mess, right? That's why we're cutting outside. So forgive the occasional interruption with a lawnmower or something, all right? Okay, let's go inside and get those installed. All right, guys, get yourself some of these markers, okay? They're called Ink Sol by Milwaukee. You're gonna want to do this every time you're working. And you just draw your center lines for the studs. That's it. And we know we have fillers on each side. That's good. We can put this away. We're gonna take our wallboard with the pink side out, not the sticker side. Don't install the cement board with the sticker side out, okay? It's gonna affect the installation. Up we go. Okay, and split the gap on the difference. There we are. That's not terrible. Hey, you know it's level when it doesn't fall over, huh? All right. And we're going to be using these fasteners right here. They're a T25 screw, okay? You'll notice that this screw is very unique. It has ribs around the edges for grabbing. Look at the head of that screw. It looks almost like a saw blade, okay? The idea here is this screw, when it's installed, the top of this is flush with the surface. It doesn't sit on top. It buries right in, and it really grabs, okay? So that's what this is designed for. This screw is very unique to this product, and you must use this screw for best results. All right? Now, with my marker here, that makes my life so simple, right? Now, the head of that screw is sticking out. It's not done yet. You see it grabbed and pulled? Now I'm flush. Just make sure every screw is installed nice and flush. All right? And then when you go to do your waterproof membrane, if you're using it, or your paint and then your tile, you're not going to have ridges and surfaces interrupting with causing your lippage. You're not going to cause lippage if you have your screws all sunk in properly. All right, now we just go like this. We're going to go up here now. And we're going to be putting in a screw, very much like drywall, every 16 inches. You can use more than you need, you just don't want to use less, okay? And don't neglect your edges. Remember, we put in the backing so that we could have something to screw to. All right, now I'm just setting my box here so the edge is in the middle of my stud. As a marker, remember, I want to install nice and tall here. And I want to get up nice and flush. There we go. They actually recommend that you don't screw within 1.5 inches of the edge. And the irony of that is 2x4s are 1.5 inches. So you're not going to double frame everything, all right? So just take your time, drill in the screw, back it out if you have to, if you're running into issues. This kind of damage here, all right, not going to be a problem, okay? Don't panic, because what we're going to come do when we're done, we'll have a piece here, we'll put mesh tape in, just like we're patching drywall. And that crack will then become integrated with the mesh and the thin set, and everything will be fine. So don't panic. If you have minor damage, just treat it like a drywall repair. All right, now we put this in here, right to the ground. All right, there we go. Starting to come together, eh? Already feels like a shower. Now there really is not a whole lot to teach here about backerboard, except that because it's cement, you have an advantage over drywall. You see this doesn't have a back here. I have got wood within a couple inches of that corner. So this is a perfectly acceptable installation right here. Okay, not quite flush yet. There we go. That's good. It's so rigid. It's not like drywall where we're going to have an issue where we're going to risk damage, okay? So if you have some framing within 3 inches, I would say, even you can push it to 4, you're okay. You don't have to fuss around putting in plywood behind everything. One more thing, these screws come in a lot of different lengths, okay? This is 1 1/4 inch, which is perfect because they're going 1/2 inch board, and then we only have 3/4 of depth into the wood. Now, if everybody else in the world does their job right, there's no plumbing or electrical within that 3/4 of an inch because that's building code. So don't buy a 2-inch screw if you're not exactly sure there's nothing there. All right. What I'm doing is I'm looking at my screw here and I'm looking at that black line. I'm drawing a line, okay? And I'm gonna go with that. That's how I find my stud. Now I can just kind of draw that line, connect the dots. You can cut all of your cement board with your woodworking tools. They're just gonna be really hard on your blades. In today's video, guys, we're gonna be discussing and installing the new quick drain shower system. All right, now check this out. This is a pre-sloped pan and it is foam, but you know what? This foam is so rigid, it's like wood, okay? You can drive screws in this thing. It's absolutely incredible. So I'm over here at my trailer and I've got a code issue problem. I can't move the plumbing, okay? So that has to stay here. And so when I was at the trade show back in February, I ran into the company. They had the engineers there. We had a nice long conversation, talked about their product, their engineering. They've got a system design for everybody out there who wants to avoid getting a building permit and avoid hiring a plumber. You can install this quick drain system right in your shower, no matter what the configuration is, no matter where the plumbing is, doesn't matter what the size is, okay? This system is adaptable for any situation. I can put in my drain right up against the wall. This and this don't have to align. We can move the plumbing to get there. We're gonna have a lot of fun. I got the helmet cam on today because we wanna be able to show you all the little nicks and little tight detail shots so that you have right information. Step 1, of course, is to do the plumbing, just to make sure that we can get all this cut and engaged properly. The secret here is to know this is the same diameter pipe as a 2-inch pipe. So you need a bushing, because you're gonna make an adjustment from a 2-inch to 1.5 if that's your problem. If you already have a 2-inch drain, you're gonna just go straight there with 2-inch pipe and fittings. But I'm gonna convert down to 1.5 here. That's lovely. And I'm going to use a 90, a short 90 right out of the floor. Now, generally speaking, with drains, you want to have like nice sweeping 90s, okay, the long curve, but in this scenario, it's actually allowed. Some rules are just stupid and meant to be broken. And we're going to just cut this off with a reciprocator. We cut it from 2 different directions so that it's nice and low to the ground, because the secret here is keep this fitting no higher off the ground than this fitting, okay? And right now I'm a little high, so. There we go. I'm having an angle issue because I'm gonna go straight up against the wood. That way my tile and everything is gonna cover the grate. It'll give me a really nice finish. The finished grate that goes on here is customizable, okay? And they send it to you like that on purpose in case your shower is shorter or wider. You can actually add on sections to the drain, which is amazing, all right? Now, we're just gonna start right up against the wood. I've got to get this pipe to here. I got a 45 and a 22.5 because I wasn't sure how my angle was gonna work here. Looks like they both suck at making that work. How in the world am I gonna get that to get there? What is the solution? I think my problem is, these are the same bloody fitting. I did it again. I reached from the 45 and the 22.5 and I didn't confirm before I left the store. I don't have a 22.5. I only have the 45. Right out of the gate. I'm just getting started and I already gotta go shopping. Okay, that's fine. I'm gonna have to go shopping. It's my mistake. I screwed up. I'm stupid. Okay, so I got the right fitting now, finally. It's a 22.5. This is gonna work. I'm just adjusting my rough. That'll work, okay? So what I wanna do is I wanna put this fitting as tight as I can here because it turns as early as possible. And it's almost perfect because I'm gonna visualize how I want this to work. Because that is square, but it's opened up. So I'm gonna rotate so that this is square. And then it's facing down just a touch. I'm gonna put a black mark on there so I know where it lines up when I assemble. All right, so I want a 1-inch piece of PVC for here because it's ½ an inch inside of each fitting. And then it looks like 3 inch would be perfect for the inside of that one. So we're gonna dry fit this sucker first. Okay. And yes, it all goes together. So now that we've dry fit it and we know it's gonna work, we're going to connect all of these components with the adhesive. All right, this is a $2 more than the other kind of glue, but you don't have to buy the primer. This is cement that's designed for ABS to PVC. And it also bonds PVC to PVC, obviously. So, we do all the easy ones first, right? Here we go. You always want to glue your fitting and your pipe. Here we go. Just join those up right there. And then we'll do this fitting and this pipe. There we go. Plumbing 101. And we set this back in place on my joint where we're going to want it. Come on. Right there. And we're gonna let that dry for a little bit. We're gonna start installing the base, setting it in thin set, cutting it in, and then we'll start at the back and work our way over here. When we get here, that'll be dry. There's no adhesive or no solvent on this joint. Okay, so we'll lift this all out of place once it's nice and rock hard. That'll give us the ability to set this in and do the buildup around the pipe. Okay, you'll see that in a minute. All right, first thing we gotta do is make sure this is nice and clean and dry. I made a mess. We can't add thin set on dirt and dust, so grab my vacuum and we'll clean that up. Okay, so I am using a 1/4 by 3/8 trowel, all right? Very standard in the industry for setting materials. We're troweling it onto the floor and onto the material, okay? For this particular situation, for the following reason. This is a structural component, and my floor, as you can tell, is a complete mishmash of different building materials, and there's some holes in it, and it's just a mess. So by going with that level of adhesion on the back, I'm going to provide myself a structural component that relocates weight distribution to areas that are strong. This particular material is crazy strong though, all right? So here's the deal. We're going to measure just a hair shy. Make a mark, and I'm going to cut out of this area so I don't have to vacuum in here 100 times a day. This is my first time cutting this stuff, so I've got a few different tools. We're going to start out with a knife. Oh yeah, it'll work. You're going to want a few passes. Oh. I'm close. Let's see if it breaks nice. Whew. Nope, you really want to cut all the way through. Okay, there we go. We're just gonna, again, we're gonna back butter this bad boy with some grooves, not just a little bit of thin set, but actual contact. Here we go. We're gonna collapse those ridges, and that'll be our base for the bench. Whew, we have to build our bench while we're here. The secret to the system is that we don't have to worry about waterproofing or taping joints or anything until we go to waterproofing. So when you're thinking about waterproofing, you want the last layer you do to be the waterproofing layer. Everything else up to this point is just still building the shower, okay? That's after I get everything built. This is considered building, not waterproofing. So what I want you to do is don't think about this as being a foam product, think of it as being wood, okay? This is our building material. We're gonna build a bench like as if we were using, well, let's call it a 2x16. All right, so I got to thinking while I was doing the install, you know, to treat this like wood, let's do a test, because I know you see me driving screws and you're like, yeah, there's gonna be a lot of doubters out there, okay? Now look at this, didn't come through the other side, okay? I'm not screwed to the plywood, all right? I can't lift that out. Even if I lift, can't lift that out. I can pull it out this way, like a lever. But I'm telling you right now, this sucker holds a screw. That's impressive. I'm just gonna get my measurement here. 13 inches is the depth. So our bench is gonna end up being 17 inches high, which is a comfort height toilet height, or chair height, which is really good. So we're just gonna cut this in 13 segments, and then we're gonna build 4 standalone blocks, and then we can set a weight on top of that. I mean, it acts so much like wood. Why don't we just treat it like wood? Try using the saw. This will be fun. So I drew on my mark where the 13 is. I actually want my blade to be just beside it. So I'm gonna follow this black mark on my table and cut next to that black mark. Like a hot knife through butter. The only problem is I didn't have the blade set deep enough. No, that's all right. That works amazing. Okay, I'm gonna just make 4 of these right here before I go back. This is a structural component. Boom, okay? It's no different than using a couple of screws when you're building your lumber. All right? Okay, I'm gonna lay it in and then lay it on. This is about overkill, and then you can squeeze it all together at the end. We don't want to squeeze too hard in the beginning though, because we want to have the ability to level this all. Okay. Now considering thinking like wood, one of these every 16 inches is plenty strong enough to carry a bench, all right? This is where it's gonna get fun, because to set this bench properly, I am gonna use a couple of screws. The thin set is for the longevity of the scenario. Okay, the screws are gonna be to hold it in place while everything is setting up. All right, and there we go. This has never been seen before, ladies and gentlemen. There's enough strength in that screw to actually sink the head. Isn't that fun? This will just blow your mind, because this gives you all kinds of options as far as being creative when you're building now. Like, what else can you say about this? This is just so much fun. I'm gonna throw one in the bottom here, just to hold. Come on, if this isn't blowing your mind right now, there's something seriously wrong with you. Okay. For the top of the bench, we've already got this cut. Maybe a little bit too perfect. All right, but it's got an overhang issue. And I'm not tiling with a huge overhang, and I don't want to wrap tile, so I want to get this perfectly cut. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna trace from underneath. There we go. This is exactly the material line, right? I'm gonna cut it about a 1/4 inch behind. And that 1/4 inch gap, I'm gonna leave it up against the back wall. That's right, because I can still put on my waterproofing system even if there's a gap. And that gives me the ability to make my edge up front perfect, because that's where the problem you're gonna run in with tiling something comes from. It's up at these outside corners. So let's do a dry fit just so that we can all see that this is perfect. See, this is perfect right here. Whenever you're doing anything with water, you gotta have slope. So your benches have to have slope, right? Everything you do has to have slope. You got a choice. You can either cut in the slope or you can thin set in the slope, okay? And by doing that, I mean by doing that. Okay, this is called wet shimming. All right, we just put a little bit on the front, enough to make a bond, and we layer it up in the back so that we have to actually press the bench into position. And because this foam is so rigid, I'm feeling confident enough to treat it like wood. And that is a game changer for this industry. And yeah, about this time you're like, where am I gonna get this product from? I'm telling you, it's brand new on the market. We'll have links in the video description for you. Okay, now watch. As soon as you put it on a slope, there's a gap, it's not straight, so you gotta push the front back. That's where that gap comes in handy, okay? So this point is flush with the rest of this wall. So when you're installing your tile, it's not coming out and out, okay? That's perfect. That's perfect. Right in the face of that panel. Now I'm just setting this as a wet shim, okay? Here we go. I'm gonna grab my level now, double check the slope on the back. Now, my left side is low, then the right side, and I don't want that. I don't want water going there and then coming out if I can avoid that. So we're just gonna go like that. There we are. There, that's much better. And do I still have slope to the front? That's the $1,000,000 question. I just have about 1 degree. Perfect. As long as you got a 1 degree to the front, the water is all going to be diverted this way. Your waterproofing system will never be overtaxed, okay? So the bench is built. Now we're going to put in the build-up for the rest of this floor. I got a series of boards here that are different lengths, okay, that we're going to use for this. And that's not going to be deep enough, but that'll incorporate with my other piece just fine. So I'm just going to work with that. Make a notch here, right? And then that's basically cut out. So let's just check it out this way. Where's my point here? I got to clear this. And then I get to about here where the angle changes. Yeah, I'm going to cut that, and then I'm going to trace that, and then I'm going to cut this the same, okay? And then I can come in from the other piece and then mark the end and cut that again. That should be easy enough to do. Now this particular cut doesn't have to be perfect, okay? Because we can always use thin set and backfill around that PVC to get what we're looking for. Awesome. There's the one. There's the other. Okay, I've also got to get a curb installed here. And I know I'm not quite finished with all of my stuff as far as my cement board and everything else, but I'm gonna cut that at 49¼ because I have to make room for cement board over here, and I gotta have room for thin set, but I'm gonna do that on the way out. But I gotta work end from the beginning because I got 2 different heights of plywood here. I gotta make sure I get this right. I only get 1 shot at this sucker. Okay, let's get this cut first. We'll visualize and then we'll trace that cut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this out where it goes. That's where it goes. It's not about that plywood at all. Okay, perfect. That'll work. Sorry, I just had to visualize where my next step was going to be before I continued on. And I was right. The curb's not the issue. I've got to cut this inside this plywood layer here. All right, I'm going to just then set this in now. Draw a quick line so we can put all this in the right spot. There we go. You know, the funny thing is if you're thinking about doing a system like this, you buy a Schluter system and you buy that big pan. And if you make any mistakes at all, it's garbage. Like, you cut that one too short, you're in trouble. Now the membrane system has been compromised. And that's a problem. So, what I'm going to suggest is, this system has some advantages that we need to look at because our waterproofing layer goes on last. Which means you get to cut and make mistakes and fix them all day long if it's necessary. Because really, your only goal is to make sure that the end product is perfect, and you can cut and screw this back together again over and over and over again if necessary. Like, think about it. The ability to fix your mistakes while you're working with a weird product that you've never seen before makes this a game changer. Having the membrane attached to the pan has its advantages and perfect conditions. But if you're working in an old house or in imperfect conditions, having the flexibility to build your own custom shower without the use of mud beds, they're a bloody nightmare. Because those drain systems that come with those, mud pack beds that you build, it's a PVC liner that comes back up to the drain. So any water that ever gets past your waterproofing or your tile gets trapped in the base forever. It can never drain. That's why they always stink forever and ever and ever. Okay, so that's done now. That's awesome. Let's get the next component out here. Because of the nature of what's going on here, we know how this works, right? This actually sits right in that little groove, okay? Now, the way that I'm installing my drain, and this is how you can personalize it, is right up against the wall, okay? So, the first cut we're gonna make with this product, with my skill saw, hello, is right there. And I'm gonna cut all of this backer off, okay? The second cut, because I'm going right up to the wall, is gonna be to cut right here as well. Okay, so that'll be gone. All right, here we go. Visualizing. Goes right up against this track over here, and that's only a 1/4 inch. That's my 1/2 inch because I have to add wallboard here. I need about we're gonna call an extra 1/4 of an inch here, okay? On that side. So I'm going to keep this plus a 1/4 inch. That's an aggressive 1/4, there we go. And I'm gonna cut this off. This is just awesome to have this much precision going on. I think what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna set the depth of my blade so it's exactly the thickness that I'm cutting. And I'll do it right on top of the plywood because I'm gonna be cutting the back of this one off. I'm like a kid in a candy store today. So this part of the build out is only affected right here. So I'm gonna measure from my curb position to this pipe, 16, 18 and a half. Okay, and because it gets wider, I'm gonna go wider. I'm just gonna cut these out. And then we'll fill it all with thin set like it never even happened. Loving it. Okay, now we need to get rid of this here. And there's not a lot of this build-out kit left, but we're gonna set every part of this into thin set to ensure, okay, see? So now that's just dry fitting it. Here goes my drain. Everything is right into the groove here. Nice. That's my plumbing. There we go, we're dry fit. This is gonna work like a charm. Now the only thing I'm gonna have to do here is I've gotta cut another piece of this material to create a buildup underneath my curb, so the curb is higher up to accommodate the slope, or it'll end up sticking up higher than the curb. And I hate when you get to that point where the floor is right at the same height as the curb. You never get a good looking finish and you don't get a good seal with your silicone. But let's focus on this, getting this all installed now, and then we can work on filling in the body of the floor and putting in the slope. I'm gonna just set this material where it needs to be set. So first we set this in place. Get the solvent weld on here. All right, and we'll set that in and set that on. There we go, guys. We officially have, and we'll clean this out, okay? Because we don't want to have that in there. Like I was saying, we can clean out the rest of this pail and fill up that void, just because we're going to want to have none of this old cement in here when I go to make the new batch. That's close enough. I'm going to go mix up another batch, and then we can put the rest of these panels and the slope in, and then we're going to let this set up overnight, and then we'll show you do the waterproofing. So I'm just going to cut this base now and install it. My width is 31, and my width here is 32. Okay? So 31 and then 32. And that change happens at approximately 9.5. Okay. 31, 32. So we're just going to use this as a straight edge. Okay, 9.5. All right, life is just that simple. Here's an interesting situation. My subfloor for the bathroom extends into my shower area just a bit here at a different elevation. And so this part of this is going to be in the way. So that's a 1/2 inch subfloor. Oh, that is some nails on the chalkboard type sound, eh? Oh, it was so nice when I used a saw. Oh. Problem solved. Just like every other component. And put a nice bead on here as well. Whenever you work with thin set, it's a little messy. Little experience. You can stop making a mess. Substantial. It's got a couple of pounds to it. All that thin set in there. There we go. Perfect base. We need 34.5 and 32 and 2.5. 34.5, 32, 2.5. 34.5. And that was for 2.5. And don't worry, in the comments section, I know you're all freaking out. Oh my God, he hasn't even finished putting the cement board on yet. It's okay. This is all just part of the building process. There's no right or wrong way to what finishes first. I'm just leaving it for now because I wanted to have the flexibility for that drain if I needed it. And it turns out I did. You see I'm rubbing it off and then I'm combing it out. That helps keep things pretty darn clean. Rub it off on the panel, okay? But then you can comb it and keep control of the excess material. So it's not landing all over yourself and the floor. Okay, there we go. This one is 34 and a half, 13 and a quarter, 13 and an eighth. I'm gonna go 13 and then 13 and a quarter, 34 and a half. We'll consider that one square and we'll cut the wedge over on that side. I'm looking at there and there, kind of going in there like that, coming out not that far. There we go. Similar to wood, not exactly the same. Let's just dry fit this and confirm it. That's gonna work just fine. Once again, we just gotta make room for that plywood. Okay, 3 more pieces and we're done the system here. Oh, but I gotta build that still. Okay, maybe I lied. We'll see. All right, first, yeah, so just like when you're dealing with wood, when you're installing more than one layer or something, you wanna make sure you're alternating your joint pattern. So that's why I went with the 17-inch board straight up into the shower, and now we're gonna go the other direction. What we have to do here is install this into that groove, okay? And then have this groove facing up. We have to actually measure from the front of this, which is this edge, to our adjustment on the wall here. 31 and a quarter. It's a little tight. We'll give ourselves a little more space than that. 31 and a quarter. There we go. We'll go to an 1/8. And that is going to come out. We're going to go to 2-inch. Okay. And now I got to get the measurement from that back bench area to this lead corner. And that's 50 and a half. Perfect. So I'm going to measure 50 and 3/8 because I don't want to be fighting with it trying to force it in. If you have to force it in, something's popping up and something's not going to be engaged in that thin set. Always, always, always incorporate room for error because you're better to have a little gap than too tight. If it's a perfect fit, it might be too tight. And then you're bending the foam in and you have hollow spots. That causes deflection, which is going to end up causing your tile to crack. I've also got this issue, don't I? We're going to dry fit. Okay, so that all looks nice. And then I come to here and then I have my problem. Okay, so as long as I've got pipe sitting higher than my buildup, I've still got to cut around this. And that's fine. We're going to backfill all of this void with more thin set. It's not going to become an issue, right? Like cement to cement to cement. I'm just going to go and take the skill saw and cut that out. It's going to be perfect. I'm loving it. Okay, we're going to disengage that. That joint is so good, it's scary. Huh? I'm just going to use up the last of my thin set here. Okay. Now I'm really confident in the amount of thin set that was used in the first layer and how level I got that surface. So I'm just going to back butter this surface instead of throwing a huge groove on there. Trying to be mindful of how tall I make the shower floor as well. So once that base layer is on, we should be pretty comfortable just doing the back butter. Now that all those different building materials and everything else have been accounted for. Let's flip that in. Okay. I think what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to clean my pail out and go have a lunch break. I'll finish this up in a minute. Yeah, we're going to have issues here dealing with the pipe. Yeah. Let's just take this saw out and give it a... Let's see if that's enough. Nope, it's not enough. I gotta get some of that too. What's going on here is that pipe is extruding, coming about this far over, okay? And then it's coming up right near the top, from here to here, right? So the easiest way for me to deal with this, instead of trying to carve the backside out, I think that was just silly. I'm just gonna cut it right out and then backfill it up with thin set because, you know, you don't wanna be all day with this stuff, right? I mean, this board is so rigid that that little bit of contact is enough resistance to keep it from going in. I don't want resistance to go in. I want it just to drop in there. Why is that not wanting to go in? There's nothing else in the way. One more time. There you go. Now it's just sitting down with the finger. Okay. Now I'm happy with that. I'm ready to roll. You know, the other thing about having you add your membrane after the fact, these tools, they're sharp. And if that was a finished membrane and I was doing some troweling and I caught an edge and I punctured the membrane, you're no longer waterproof. So just consider when you're working, every one of these details can be a contributing factor to failure. There we go. Need some back butter on it. This last little bit looks like it's gonna be a real pain in the butt, eh? I have a third piece of slope and it's only about 6 inches long. I'm gonna cut it exactly where I want it. 1 3/4, 1 3/4. Perfect. And I'm gonna cut another piece of curb to elevate this up so I'm up here. Because look at how, see how close to flush I am back here? That's flush. And that's gonna be lousy. I don't have any ability to put a tile on here and then transition to a sill plate. So I want another 1.5 inches, okay? I like 1.5 inches, that's what this is. That's a nice gap. So I'm gonna take some leftover material and cut some pieces that are exactly 2.5 inches wide, build up my curb. Lovely. All right. I need 1 3/4, right? So I just set my guard. 1 3/4 is right there. Put my fingers there, and away we go. Yeah. Yeah, that's absolutely bizarre. I don't have the length. I forgot that measurement. Where'd the rest of it go? I'm missing the other piece. Oh, crap. Hang on 1 second. Kind of wet shim technique here, pretty much. There we go. Yes, put the locking joint in the right direction. That would be helpful. Okay, that was a big mistake. I measured from the wrong end and I didn't cut the thick end off. I have to recut that. I don't know how to measure now. This is starting to really piss me off. Okay, let's get a little bit of product in here. I'm gonna wet shim it here. A little bit on the inside too. Just has something to bond to that other piece because it's so tiny. Okay, here we go. Now that's the right height. All right, now I need a piece that was, or pieces that are 49 inches by 2.5. Ugh. There we go. And boom. All right, now, inside waterproofing joint there. An important part of the element here is to screw this into the other material. As you can see, I'm going into a piece of 1 inch and then into almost nothing. So what I'm gonna do instead, I'm gonna screw this on a bit of an angle so that I hit the 2-inch filler. Okay, so I'm gonna go underneath this pan into that filler underneath. Wow. There we go, leave that flush. That's acceptable. It's not perfect, but it's acceptable. I'll make that curb perfect with a little bit of thin set. Give everything just enough love to make that happen. Okay, now the next stage obviously is to put on the membrane, but we can't do that, or at least I won't do that until everything is set up. I'm not in that much of a hurry when I'm doing a project like this that I gotta rush through. I know some contractors are, but we don't need a project that rushes through to completion. We need a product that is going to give us a perfect result, right? Because that's the goal. And let's face it, as a homeowner, doing something like this for the first time, you're not going to be Speedy Gonzalez anyway. So backfilling now, making sure that all of my surface is nice and flat. Any of the groove here that's been exposed, or the pipe, is all flat and perfect. This is just going to facilitate a really nice installation of the membrane, which is coming up right next. Yeah, we have the beginning of a shower. Yay, a shower. And we're going to be installing this membrane cloth on the floor. And I know you've all seen products out there, orange, red, white, and blue. It doesn't even matter, right? They're all about the same. We're going to use this cloth and apply some physics to make sure all the water drains to the drain. And then we're going to apply some chemistry technology over top of that. And we're going to waterproof the shower. And we're going to build this system so it's guaranteed not to fail with a double waterproofing system. I know nobody's using it, but this is how I do it. Make sure you're not going to be the victim of flooding and water damage and mold and all that other mess. Follow the system and you can have a perfectly waterproof shower. Let's just jump into it. We are using a combination of mesh tape that's designed for being embedded in the thin set, okay? We're going to use this on all of our horizontal joints and we're going to cover it in thin set. I'm using cement board that's been treated for water resistance. It's like protection on protection on protection. The failure that happens in these showers is almost inevitably ledges in the corners and in the corners in the shower pan, okay? That's where the failures are. It's always in the corners. And it's because they're taking membrane and they're applying thin set and sticking membrane on that. Well, here's a news flash for you. When cement gets exposed to water, it gets wet. Now, the properties of plastic, which is what these are made of, is hydrophobic. So there's a resistance to let the water in, okay? But if you make a little mistake and you get a little bit of a wrinkle, now that hydrophobic property is gone. Any combination of just one or multiple little mistakes results in failure. It's always a shame because you put all that time and energy and money into these products, and if you don't do it 100% correctly, it fails. Really? First, we whip up a good batch of thin set. Important, you use all set thin set by Schluter. Can't say this enough. I know it's a little more expensive. This stuff works on all the foam board. It works on drywall. It works on cement board. It works for waterproof roll-on membranes, okay? It always works. And we're gonna take, in this case, I got Red Guard seam tape, which is basically fabric, and we're gonna use this in our joints, in our most susceptible areas, okay? Now, I don't have to go all the way to the ceiling all the time. These things ain't cheap. This little roll is like 40 bucks, okay? So use it where you need to. And might I suggest, always buy a pair of scissors for this. It looks a little silly, we're men, why are we using scissors? Truth is, these work, and a utility knife doesn't. This is actually really hard to cut with a knife. So there's one joint there for me. I need one joint here for me. 3 feet here. And I'll tell you right now, if you're not spending good money on your waterproofing, you're not waterproofing. You're just lying to yourself. This is not the time to try to save money. This is not the time to be cheap. Okay. Beautiful. Okay, now. Okay, we don't need a lot. We just need enough to create a bond. And this is just to create a physical barrier in the cracks where expansion and contraction takes place. Get that crease there. Never work with your membrane with metal tools, okay? That's another big mistake that people make, all right? That's how you do it properly. You hold it in place, and then you press it out so it's nice and thin. Line it up, like that, okay? If you use 2 knives, you're not going to get rounded edges. You're not going to run into trouble when you go to use your tile. I'm just going to get the other 4 pieces done, and then we'll talk about the next step. Now, we're going to do the inside and outside corners, of course, but the curb, niches, ledges, curbs, these sorts of things, they tend to be the weakness in almost every shower that's out there, because we want to put things on this shelf and not have them slide off into the shower. So we generally put about a 1 degree slope. A 1 degree slope does not force every drip of water off, okay? It always will hold a little bit of moisture here. And so if you have a weakness in your silicone, or you get an expansion, contraction from forced season climate, and water gets in behind the silicone, and it's also wet here, and let's say you got a shampoo bottle, and it holds water, it doesn't dry out as fast as the rest of the shower. So it's kind of like a house. If you have bushes up against the siding, that wall is eternally wet. Same thing here. The things you put on this ledge are what hold water on the ledge. So consider, don't put things in the corners. What I'm going to do is I have a membrane here for the shower floor. It comes long enough for the whole 6 feet and goes up both sides. So I'm going to steal a little bit because my shower isn't quite that long. And I'm going to make 1 piece of cloth from here over and down. So first I got to measure that. So I have a 3.5 inch ledge, and I want 2 inches on each side. 7.5, we're going to cut it at 8. Right there. There's my spot. And the way you want to cut this, you can get a straight edge, you can do all kinds of things. I am just going to take that mark, put my finger there, bring this across, and that makes that square, and then I can cut that line. You don't need to be all the way across, all right? Now we've got that, I'll set it aside. Okay. Now, here's a great opportunity to put a pre-slope in your pan. We're going to intentionally create a slope with our thin set. If you can build a slope into your framing, then that's great too, right? You want to have a guarantee of a slope. We can build it right here like that. No reason we can't do that. Waterproofing system should be able to function as a shower without any tile in the room. And as long as you're building with that mentality, you'll always make your system have enough integrity to keep things from failure. Sadly, a lot of people build out there with that mentality, if you can't see it, it doesn't matter. And that is not where you want to be when you're dealing with your renovations. Remember, warranties and guarantees aren't worth the paper they're written on. Okay. This is how you can press that in without affecting the cloth here that you've made your slope with. There we go. And one of the reasons that people have failures in their showers is money. I got 4 corners here. You buy these things, they're about $5 a piece. It's just a piece of plastic, right? $5. Yeah, they're ripping you off because they know you need it. So what we gotta do, we gotta cut these to fit. And even when that goes on, that's too long, right? See that? Trust me, we'll wrap the outside later. This is not the time to be too long, it'll just make a mess. There we go, so that one's done. You can take off more because we don't have to go right to the corner because we're gonna put another one to cover the inside corner. All right, so we got that one. Let's get these both in first. And there's 2 ways to do an inside corner. Okay, you can use the thin set. All right, and this is the standard practice everybody uses. All right, so we're gonna press this in. Make that nice corner, that nice edge. Hold all that still. Get this little edge here. Okay. Okay, see how they wrinkle? If they're not perfectly square, okay? That wrinkle is dangerous. And that dent there is dangerous. And watch this. I want to lift this. Get rid of that dent. I don't want anything in behind here holding water. Right? And this is why this is so sketchy. See, everything's moving. Every time I pull one thing, something else moves. Okay? And I'm always going to get a bubble, especially on a ledge, because this is not 90 degrees because we've got a 1 degree slope. So there's always going to be something here that's bubbling out. All of these pieces, all of these components, there's still room for man-made error. And so we want to take one more step at the very end to make sure that doesn't happen. One of the things they say is you have to trim this green membrane thing back right at the metal, okay? Front and back. And if you've watched the installation video, you understand why this is such a crucial step. And if you don't, you might miss it. And then you're really gonna cause some trouble for yourself down the road. This particular drain gets installed with stainless steel screws. And that can seem somewhat counterintuitive, okay? And it also has 4 pins. These are important. Don't cause damage to these. So I'm gonna wash this and set it aside, make sure it doesn't get any damage. And it has to be specifically cut to install so that I can fold it up and then set it in the thin set and smooth it out properly, okay? So the secret here, of course, is to realize that we're gonna wanna have some of each side of this membrane going up the side walls here, right? Something like that, okay? Get a good couple of inches of overlap. And that's nice. And we also know that we're going to be using inside and outside corners. We are able to do this. We also want to have enough left over to wrap the curb. This corner looks nice. And in case I get confused, I'm going to just mark my corner here. Same on this side, because I'm going to take this out of the room and fold it. You'll see that in a minute. Once I get this membrane down and it dries, I'm going to come back and finish all the rest of my waterproofing, so don't hit me up in the comments. This is where it gets interesting, right here, okay? Because I can't do this. This has to be an outside corner. There we go. Okay, and then it has to come around this corner. So I got to do a relief cut here. There we go. That's not a problem. This will be same thing. We'll just hit it with a marker. Okay, and the reason I'm drawing these huge lines is because I'm going to pull this out and I'm going to trim a lot of this down. I don't need an 8-inch overlap. There we go. I'm also going to put a crease here so that when I lay it in, it'll actually go around the edge. Now all I got to do is pull this back and cut off my excess, because this is a little ridiculous. I only need 2 inches. And if I have more than that, it's just going to cause me a lot of frustration trying to set it in. Brilliant. Now, we want to start at this end. So we're going to fold on the inside. Okay. We're going to fold in to here. We're going to fold this in again. All right. And then we're going to take this out so that we can set this in the thin side. This area right here, where we cut that plastic, now we want to peel this back. Next step is very important. Grab your dude wipes. Okay? We're going to just want to wipe this down. Make sure it is nice and clean. We're going to be using thin set to attach the membrane to the green board. But right along this channel body, we're going to be using that sealant adhesive, okay? So you want to have a clean surface to work on here. Now, we want to put our adhesive on that line. Nice 3/8 bead. Don't leave any room for there to get all squeezed out. Hard tray. Now, this is an important corner over here, right? You want to set it right into position, right out of the gate. Right into that adhesive. Here's my corner. Go. There we go. Nice. We'll unroll it. We should have pretty decent success here, nailing all this in the right spot. Okay. This is where these plastic trowels are so important. Okay, now right underneath here, there's these little pins, part of the tray. Those 2 little anchor pins. We're going to come across till we hit these 2 anchor pins, and we're going to push them through the membrane. Now, those 2 pins are at the location where that adhesive went. So it's going to be sealed for life. That's not even a concern. Our knife and create a crease here. We're going to add an inside and outside corner here in a minute. So right now, having extra material here is no benefit. Lapping this once perfectly or 4 times, it makes no difference at all. Okay. I got a pan that's in fresh thin set. What I want to do, I've got it all smoothed out now. Okay, I've got the adhesive engaged. I've got everything the way I want it. Leave it the heck alone for a couple of hours, okay? Let this thing set up and get hard. You can even come back the next day. Don't be in a hurry. As soon as you put a foot in here, you're gonna make an impression in a thin set, and now you've got a potential for water pooling. I don't wanna have dips and valleys. It will hold water, it won't drain well. Because I like to set myself up for success. Trying to do too much at once usually leads to failure when you're dealing with waterproofing. The next part of the installation, now that we've got the mat down, I want to use this collar. Now this is where the technology gets unique. We have a waterproofing surface here. And in theory, I could just cut out the drain area, okay? But then by just doing that, then we're relying on the tile and the tile edge to do all the work. What the collar does here is it gives us something to grout to. And stabilizes the grout around the drain, okay? So this is why this is important to stick in. Now these locator pins that are right here, okay, so that's the locator pin, and it needs to go into this hole. And these pins are designed so that this body sits square over the drain, right where these holes are lined with the holes in the drain to be clamped together. I'm out about 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so I gotta go over and modify this bracket here now. And that's not a big deal, all right? I'm just gonna take off a good 1/4 inch. I'm gonna round the edges as well so I don't penetrate the membrane during install. Get the waterproofing system in place here for the corner. I don't know about you, but they make it always look so perfect. And the real application of these products, anything that's out of square causes these bubbles. And so the only way to deal with them is after the product dries, you can seal them up. Don't spend all day long fighting with it. If it's there, it's there, and there's nothing you can do about it. That's why you gotta have a system that goes above and beyond what the product is designed to do. Because in real life scenarios, nothing's gonna be perfectly square. Let's go get the grinder out. We'll cut this down so we can get it to fit. All right, we're ready to go. I've got my regular grinder bit, metal cutoff wheel. Always have a look at it. Make sure it looks flat. If you see any warping in it, throw it out and get a new one. 99.99999% of all accidents are a result of a damaged wheel before you even start cutting. You'll see when you cut stainless steel, almost inevitably, you get this huge ridge, okay? So that has to be ground down as well. There we are. And everything should be smooth, nothing sharp. Good. If it can't cut you, it's not gonna cut the liner. Looking for the pin. Got it, pin there. Perfect. So that's the drain body. Now, let's just think about the concept here. Water gets under here. It's gonna come up to this drain body. The cloth is continuous right to the open drain. This is just to provide us some stabilization. Any of these drain hole screw holes that I put in here now are directly related to the concept of tightening this to the original drain body that has a position to receive that screw. What happens now is, after I screw this down, this is a little U-channel, okay? It's designed to hammer over top of this edge. So I can customize the drain to exactly the size of the hole, okay? Same thing with this. I can customize this exactly the size of the hole and cut it. And what that does is that gives me, they're designed in this product, drain body extensions, okay? So if you're buying one and it's gonna be bigger than what you're gonna use, you can check out the video from the company on that. It's really simple. You just cut it to fit and lay it in place, and then you're back in business. So what I gotta do now, get a drill. Okay, now we have this all in right position. I simply screw this all down. I cut this to a size that fits so I can have it sitting in place while I'm attaching my valve, my drain body, so that I'm not pinching or going too much of a gap. That way I can make sure that it's gonna look perfect when I'm done. So let's get I gotta leave room for the tile as well. And we're gonna cut right here. All right, now the chain body, sorry, the channel body stops here, okay? But we want to have grout contact support all the way to this end. So they give you this piece that slides over the top. What we want to do is just get it as long and perfect as we can. Now there's going to be tile on both sides, so we got a little bit of mercy here. We're just going to mark these two, grind them back, and install them. And that'll represent something in the chrome department that goes from side to side that covers all of that. So when you put the detailed channel drain cover in, everything looks very intentional. Okay, so these just slide right over top. All right, so you can see the difference. Now I've extended the channel length from here all the way to the edge. Okay, there we go. We'll just stick it on that wedge there. Oh, that's the cut side. We'll put it on the other end. There we go. Oh, perfect. So we're going to throw this back in now just to confirm. Now we can fill up the rest of the holes. Now you're probably sitting there thinking, hey, there's a weakness in your system there, right? Because now you're penetrating that membrane. The membrane is sealed to the drain on the underside of that cloth, so it's actually bonded together. And what we're doing is we're throwing a screw, into a sealed compartment of that drain. So in theory, yeah, water could find a way in and out and around and down, but because these stainless steel screws don't degrade and it's going through the sealant, it's kind of like a gasket. Now for perfection, which is what you want with waterproofing, we're going to need the next step. Because any system that you use to put in a shower is going to have failure rates based on integrity, experience, and the conditions of the shower. Now, anywhere you got a corner joint, like this one, okay, here's a weak spot. Put the sealant on it, okay, and just, this is just cheap insurance, right? Here's another bubble. Nothing's ever 90 degrees. Cheap insurance, okay, just fill it. There we go. Now, once all this is dried and set up, then we can add our last layer of waterproofing. And so we're going to give this a couple hours to set up, and then I'll show you the last step. So guys, we are in the home stretch. We're going to be painting our ceiling. I'm going to share with you a couple of secret tricks here. One of them is the product. This is a $27 gallon of ceiling paint for bathrooms that I trust. I've been using Glidden paints for years up in Canada. They sell it at Home Depot in the United States. I was amazed that it was so cheap. When you have a flat ceiling in a bathroom and you have an old fan, or a small fan like a 50 CFM, or no fan at all, you've got to include some protection for your ceiling material so that it doesn't get water damage and go moldy. What this is 100% acrylic paint, which means it's kind of like a vapor seal to a certain degree. It'll help protect that ceiling from damage. So that's why we're using it. We've got a couple of issues here because we used to have the wall. This was part of the hot water tank room. So we got to pull out some kills. We got to prime that ceiling. Now, the good news about that paint is it is like a one coat coverage. I'm going to really douse that sucker on there on that exposed edge. Make sure that it's going to bond really nice with my finish. Okay, there we go. I got a couple of other considerations I got to worry about. One of them is the hood fan, or the bathroom fan, the cover vent. This is an old Brown. There we go. It's the kind where the two wires pinch together, and then you can release them. I'm going to wash this up, and then I'm going to hit it with my Rust-Oleum Super White gloss enamel, okay? That'll make this brand new. You know me, I like to have about this much paint. So when I stab my brush in here, I can load the brush without filling the paint up inside this metal area here. Acrylic paint stuck in this area is what kills your brush, okay? This can be washed. That is amazing. Got my Sherlock stick and my Wooster cage, they lock together. Expandable. Expandable. we're gonna have a microfiber sleeve. Good quality sleeves don't need pre-washing or any other prep. Now we're gonna get up here and cut. Here we are, nice and simple. All right, I get to be a little bit on the sloppy side here because I haven't tiled yet, which is why I'm painting today. Part of my renovation process is do your painting before you tile. If you save it for the very end, you're gonna be cleaning up a lot of tile and a lot of grout. Because it's a flat paint, it'll hide a lot of errors and provide you with a little bit of mercy. That's the whole idea. You just wanna paint the first 2 inches around the edge, because that's the part where the roller is not gonna reach. The last thing we want to do with our waterproofing system, my waterproofing system, sorry, which is like miles ahead of anybody else in the industry, is to incorporate this roll-on membrane on the membrane that's over cement board. It's extreme, I know, but here's why. Every single opportunity that you have to fail with all these systems is eliminated as soon as you put a good membrane on, okay? This is something you want to do 2 coats of. And you're gonna want a knife. Oh, hey. You're gonna want to wear a couple of gloves. By finishing up with this membrane, what we get is we can use the brush along all these screw lines and seal those screws to the flange and eliminate the opportunity for water to get down there. I get to seal all of the mesh tape joints on the thin set. Yeah, and this makes a perfect coat, okay? I get to seal all of these little bubbles where I put my goop, okay? I get to seal all of my base corners, all my inside corners, all right? There's nothing here that I can't seal with this brush. And apply a liquid membrane. Look at that. Now that corner that is being charged with the job of keeping the water out is also sealed. That's where this is valuable. Now you got layer of protection on top of a layer of protection. Okay, and we can do 2 coats of this, no problem. It's actually encouraged to do 2 coats. Gives you the thickness of the membrane that you're looking for. We're gonna use a roller everywhere else, but I'm just demonstrating here. 1 coat will push the product into all the cracks. The 2nd coat will make sure that nothing ever finds its way past the membrane underneath. A sharp pebble or a screw on your shoe, all it takes, one hole, and you're shot. So why don't you take the time, no matter what's going on, and seal absolutely everything. That adhesive, quality stuff, right? But for my money, I get to actually look at a continuous physical barrier. This lets me sleep at night, knowing that I'm not gonna have problems, okay? And it goes on pink, when it goes dry, it's red. This is called Red Guard. All those fancy corners, they can't compare with a good sloppy paint application, right? Now you know that corner is never gonna get wet because you put the membrane in. The funny part is the Red Guard is actually the most affordable part of the whole shower build. So for an extra 50 bucks, you can add a membrane onto all of your work. Make sure every gap is filled, every crack is filled. It does more than just push water away. This creates a permanently sealed membrane, like one great big rubber glove over top of your whole shower. Wall tile has no problem bonding to this. Your floor tile will have no problem bonding to it. It bonds to the foam, it bonds to the cement board, it bonds to Schluter, it bonds to drywall, it bonds to anything. So whatever system you are going to use one of these membranes. When you're going to use this stuff, get a throwaway kit, okay? It's like $12, $14 at the store. roller, cage, sleeve, and aluminum tray. You don't want to have to wash this stuff up. There we go. It's off casting like you wouldn't believe. It's kind of nasty, but it works. And that's the whole point, right? Now we got something that we can be confident with, because now if there's any pinholes in any of the applications of the cement, the thin set, the adhesive, the mat itself, it's all been eradicated. My eyes are burning. Make sure you have fresh ventilation, maybe even a mask when you're putting this stuff on. Hey guys, today we are installing a 10 by 28 tile. This is a ceramic. It's going in my custom shower. We're gonna install it vertical stack. So today, it's design over function. We're throwing common sense out and we're gonna make it pretty. Step one on any tile project is protecting that waterproofing membrane. I love buying a $2 cardboard box. It's just a good investment, right? Like, the last thing you wanna do is drop a tile or drop a tool, because that causes problems. As long as I don't see any penetration in the cardboard, I'm comfortable that the membrane's still in good shape. If for any reason I'm not 100% confident after I'm done tiling the walls, I will lift the cardboard out. I got Red Guard standing by. I can always paint another protection on the floor. As luck would have it, I have some spare materials around here. Paint can, plus a 1/2-inch drywall, plus a laser line. Here's why. Right over here, guys, is another video where we did the tile on the whole wall. That's where my red line comes to. I am a good 1/8 of an inch above my grout line, which means I can use this line as my mark for where my first course of tile goes. Okay? It's this simple. I just line that up. I mark this. I'm an 1/8 of an inch high there. I want a gap under my stone, so I'll mark -1/4. So I've got room to put in my shims. When you're doing a shower like this, you got to consider the entire process. I have to do the entire base row, and then I have to finish a wall because I have different depths, okay? And what I'm doing is I'm going to start with a full tile from the edge. I'm going to do it cut off, and then the off cut will come around the corner. It's a really nice look. But what I have to do is I have to build this wall up, because this is a different depth, which is going to affect my offcut. And then I'll establish a grout line, and then I'm going to mimic that grout line on this wall down here. So this is what I got to go through. We went ahead and measured off. All right, there's 27.5, that's my tile. Roughly here, roughly, bam. I'm starting another full tile here. Let's just get into this. So first of all, I've got to make a notch to go over my curb. All right, there we go. And I want to go nice and flush with this. All right. And everything in here, you can leave a little bit of mercy, because everything is going to get covered by another piece of tile. So you have the thickness of this plus the thin set to help cover all your cuts. So if you cut too tight, you're going to be interrupting with some of the waterproofing and the membrane in the corners, okay? So that's all we're going to do. I'm just going to kind of half draw that in. That'll be tile number 1. And that's where we begin, at the wet saw. Well, right away you can tell that the coffee has not kicked in. I'm actually using this red line as a guide. So my edge of my tile has to be just about 1/4 inch below that. That makes it 2 inches. So I need to take off 2 inches over here and another 2 inches over here and make that an adjustment. So I'm gonna go do that now. Jeff's a genius today. All right, now the goal here is to stack the tile. So I'm gonna hold this trowel line here, plus another 1/8 for thin set and for my metal. Yeah, right there, that's what I want. Okay, we're gonna create a system here. where I'm gonna call this number 2, okay? And then this piece here is number 3. And then this will be number 4 over here. As far as the stacks, I don't wanna get confused about my offcuts because I'm not building this for a little while, right? I can't even start this, I can't do this cut till after I build this wall up and get around here to get this grout line established. So we're gonna just start off here by going, I need a piece that's 8 1/4, and then I'm gonna mark the surface of the offcut with the number 3, all right? So I know that that's part of that row. So I can do this tile and this tile, and I can do the whole wall at the same time, okay? And building and building and building. And then I'm gonna have a stack of number 3s over in the corner somewhere. See how the mind is working? And then once I build this up, get around this fixture, get over here, I can establish where my grout line is for number 3 up here, okay? And once we've got that grout line established, then I can take my stack of 3s, I can cut it to that grout line, and then I can make number 4 and so on, and finish the bottom row. One more thing that we need to take note of is the design on these stones. If you get something like this, consider this. Here, I'm gonna do this standing up like a grown-ass man, all right? Here we go, check this out. This pattern is supposed to flow into the next one. Now you can see that lines up. Here's not lining up. Not a terrible look, but at the end of the day, if the whole shower isn't cut properly and you have one that's facing the wrong way, it'll stick out like a sore thumb. That is my side that I want. I've got to take 2 inches off of the bottom of this. I'm assuming it'll be about the same over here. Let's have a look. It grows, okay? So I'm going to start with taking off 2. I'll cut this one, and then I'm going to put a big 3 on this and start my stack. Now, because there's a slope, I have to wait until I get this piece installed before I know where my grout line is, so I can measure from here, line this up with my new grout line, and then I can draw my slope out. So all we do with this is mark number 3 on it and set it aside. Now it's time to get some thin set going. I'm gonna be using 2 different thicknesses today. Again, here's one other issue that I have. Anyway, this goes here, but I don't want it all the way back there. I don't want to fill this up with a 1/2 inch grout. I'm going to use the 1/2 inch trowel to get it closer to my drain body. Here we go. And then I'm going to use the 1/4 by 3/8 everywhere else where I don't have to have the buildup. Save myself a few bucks. Oh yeah, that's nice. That's good. So now what we do is just get a bunch on the wall. We're going to press the bottom in, and then we're going to break it up past that red line, and then go back to the bottom with the excess and fill it all in. That is a nice build out, very consistent. Pays to be really picky. All right, we're using a directional troweling technique so that all the lines are going the same direction. When I go vertical stack, I like my lines vertical because it allows me to set in my clip system, and then everything always has something to bond to. Like we mentioned earlier, this is considered large format tile. Anything over 12 by 12 should be treated like this. You add a skim coat, and because we're in a shower, we want to look for 100% coverage. Code says something about 95%. Well, hell, if you're gonna go 95, just make it perfect. I mean, and that is one of the reasons why this takes so long to do. Making sure everything is absolutely perfect. So I'm gonna line up a little bit short on purpose, set it, and then slide it out to my position that I want. That'll collapse all the ridges. There we go. Very cool. Very happy with that. Now, we are going to attempt to use self-leveling clips on this. All right? Because I am building out with so much thin set, I don't want this getting out of control. The way we do that is you clean, and then you set. Try to find something where it's kind of flat. Okay? There we go. And we're going to put one on the side as well. It's already a good spot. Okay, and then we're gonna get this one ready to roll. Same thing. Collapse the ridges. Now's the opportunity for me to fix anything that I don't like. There we go. There we are. There we are. So my red line now is just above my tile. And this is almost perfect. Stick one under this corner here. Always easier, or I should say it's better, not always easier, but it is better to always cut with, give yourself a little bit of room, okay? If you need 2 inches, take off 2 1/8 and then add wedges. Little tip with this, when you're using this, the direction that you're pushing that wedge is the direction the tile is being compressed. So if I put it the other way, I'm going to open up my grout line. All right. And that's not overly tightened, or it'll break, but that holds that nice and flush. Whew! At least the next piece is simple. Very important here when you're getting around your plumbing fixtures. Almost every plumbing fixture has some sort of a face plate, whether it's integrated or it goes on after the fact. Just make sure you know the end from the beginning. This one, it just screws on afterwards, and there's 2 screws that go into the valve body, okay? That screw hole has to be exposed. Don't bury it behind your tile. It's really tricky to try to expose that after the fact, so make sure you're integrating that into your cuts. Okay, so when I did the shower, I made this slope. I pre-sloped it so that the waterproofing has a water diversion system. But when I actually put my sill on, I'm going to install it. This slope is more aggressive than the one I want on the sill. This one, the sill, I want 1 degree. Now look where that lines up. Okay, and I'm using a thicker stone for the sill. So this actually comes out pretty perfect. I might even, just because I can, and this is one of the benefits when you slope this, I built this with the stone in mind, right? You can do this, right? You can go shopping for your design first, and then you can build accordingly. So my tile is going to come across here, and I'm going to have about a ½ an inch of cement. I'm just going to fill it up. I'm going to set my sill plate to overlap right on top, so I don't have to do any cuts along the top here. Resist the temptation around thin pieces like this to leave extra cement on it, okay? Yeah, a lot of people will say, oh, well, it's a small little piece of tile, it needs help. No, if you put more cement there, you've changed the depth, and when you're pressing your tile, now you're gonna break it. So we're just gonna set this in place, like we have every other tile, a little bit to the left, and then collapse the ridges. Here we go. Success in tiling is all about having a system and not deviating from it. Here we go. Okay, so because of the waterproofing build out, you get things like this. I got a nice little gap here, opens up to about, I don't know, 3/8, maybe almost a half. But if you look at the top, this wall, it comes closer and then it curves and falls away. So at the very top, I'm out, a ½ inch to 5/8, which means every tile I put on this wall has to come close enough to here to close that gap. So I don't have any confidence that if I just add this tile and go, well, that'll be my line. If I do that, I commit to this, okay? All the way up. Now, what I'm gonna end up with is tiles that come, let me just get this leveled off a little bit. What I'll end up with is a tile that comes to here, but maybe the next one, it only comes to here. Whoa, well, this line has to be stacked, has to be perfect, so slide it over. And then your gap over here from one stone to the next, it could be ridiculous then, right? So we don't want to commit to that line now, because we already know that it fades away, that wall fades away. If they both fade away, then there's not enough material to keep this line nice and true. So the solution is this. I'm taking my cutoff stone, okay, and I'm going to remove another ½ an inch to set up a new mark, okay? I'm gonna use my finger here as a guide, and I'm gonna cut, looks to be like about a ½ an inch. Now by removing this material now, I guarantee that if there's a little movement, I'll have enough material to get that grout line perfect. All right, we'll get that cut and we'll start the next row. So now I got this one cut, line number 3. We'll get this one attached. establish our grout line, and then we'll start working at the base. To be really quite rampy. All right. Good. Now, where does that give me a line? So my laser line is 1 5/8, dead on. And that's too short, obviously. I'm going to put a black line on my tile here, 1 5/8. I can make that bigger so you can see you guys at home. There we go. There we are. Got it. All right. Okay. Now, I'm gonna take my shim and my black marker, and I'm using the permanent marker this time. And there we go. That black mark becomes the grout line. So I'm gonna measure up to it. Now that that's established, I'm gonna focus on finishing one wall at a time, continue to put my offcuts in that stack for the 3rd row, and then we're gonna measure back from the black line for every tile on this side of the wall. Let's get to the ceiling. Oh, I'm in trouble. Oh. I forgot something. My wife is gonna kill me if I don't put it in. Oh, I forgot. Oh, nuts. I was having too much fun, I got excited. Accent tile. Okay, so accent tiles do not go this far up if it's only one band. And she will kill me if I try to get away with that. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna disassemble, clean off the thin set. I'm gonna put it in where it's supposed to go, about eye level. Yeah, life just happened. All right. And trust me, you don't wanna be the guy that says, oh honey, I forgot it. Don't worry, it looks fine without it. She will make me tear this all off. Oh. I know she will. Glad I realized it now and not 3 hours from now. Good news is, now I can show you what it's like to cut glass. When you're doing an accent tile, one of the secrets, buy the same thickness of accent as your stone. So everything lines up. Really nice, as far as flush is concerned. All right. There we go. Let's get a measurement for this. We're gonna go 4 1/8. And we'll go outside and I'll do this cut with you, Lee. I'm taking this as my top and my bottom, my 2 sides, okay? Now, I got 2 options for this. I can cut a square because I know I have a plate that goes over top. Or I can check to see my hole saw kit is going to be big enough. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the perfect cut. Okay, I got a little bit of wiggle room on that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to throw this in my drill. I'm going to bore the hole. And I'm going to just place that inside those little black lines. All right, let's go get that done. The secret here, because there's no pilot hole on these, is you have to hold it on the side where you want to start your hole. Go nice and slow. That's my location right there. Okay, now I got a good groove. I want to start rolling it, well, a little bit to my left actually. How's that looking? Looks to me like I'm going to finish up a little high. So I'm going to bore it towards me now. Okay. Well, that's where I measured it. Let's find out if I can measure. All right, here we go. Oh, yeah. Okay. That's gonna work out famously. Those plastics. Nice and tight to this tile, and then we'll slide a little bit to the right to collapse the ridges. Check our sin. Yeah, we are in good shape. Okay. All right. That job is saved. Whew. Now, I don't want to make my wife to sound like some sort of a villain in this story, but guys, you all know, once the lady has told you to do something, it's not her job to remind you. And the lady wants what she wants, and it's my job to give it to her. Here we go. This is good. I'm going to finish this off now, and then we're going to finish the rest of the bottom row so that this afternoon, at the end of the day, I have enough time and everything's dry enough, I can pull my wedges and get this floor in. This is the goal. Tile this whole shower in one day. This cement has been with me now for a little bit. I mixed this one about an hour ago. And it's already setting up. A little stiffer than I would like. That's much nicer. Yeah, I had to throw the rest of that thin set out. It was just standing a little too long. When you're building a design like this, you have to be very precise. Sometimes less is more. I hate throwing that stuff out, but... Okay. I am not taking any chances. I'm going to find a surprise the next day that's bled through. So I'm going to just wipe it off now, okay? Now that the wall's done, we're just going to take a minute with a wet sponge, top to bottom, removing the excess thin set that's sitting on the surface of the tiles. Because why let it dry there and then you have to fight with it later? You don't want to wait till tomorrow to wash this stuff off. I mean, it'll work, it's a lot harder. Okay, now we can finally get back to the first part, and that's finishing off all the base. Okay, so we're just trying to keep an eye on our patterns here, okay? Make sure we're consistent. This piece goes here, all right? So first thing we gotta do is get our length. So we're gonna set that up against the stone here, okay? And we're gonna draw in where our cut is. And that is really, really specific, okay? Now, because it's upside down, we can't trace that horizontal line. We have to go this way. This cut goes in that end over there. So in order to measure the bottom that we cut, we have to kind of go this way, right? But I can't get in there. So I'm gonna use a measuring tape. I'm gonna measure. Oh, go from here. And we're gonna give ourselves a little bit of mercy here, okay? So I need something, we're gonna go 7.5. All right? And then we're gonna measure from the top down to cut the bottom off. And I'm gonna measure from here at the black line. And that one is 7.5 dead on. But remember, there's a slope cut from the top, sorry. And I'm gonna take a little bit more off because I wanna have wedges. If I cut it too perfect, I don't have the ability to maneuver, okay? So here we go. Okay. And then we're gonna cut that line. Consistent right there. All right. Now we're gonna start at the bottom with a third row. And that's gonna look absolutely perfect. We can take number 4 and start working on this one, which is too long. I liked trying to remember to keep this happy face on the top left corner. So I'm gonna turn this upside down so I can get my inside corner measurement, my mark. All right, and I'm gonna go here on this side of that line. All right. We'll find out what that measurement is. We're gonna go with 22. If I can, I'll take my vertical here. I'm gonna see how this line is. If it's very, oh, that's not terrible. What if we were to move it out a little bit? Give ourselves a little mercy. We fit right to the top. There we go. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 tiles at 22. Now it's going to be a little bit 9 at 22. Here we go. That makes this process a lot faster. Here we go. Now this one goes right here, right? I've got the flange body in the way. So we're going to put a couple of notches in there so it'll sit right on top of that. Sit right in the body. And that'll be amazing. Okay. Now here's all my offcuts. That's perfect. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Drop our line on here again. We're gonna just measure. We're gonna go 7 3/8. And then over here we're gonna go 7 and almost dead on 7 1/16. Okay. Ready for thin set. That's awesome. Now the job begins of finishing off this bottom row, and then we're going to be putting in the floor. There we go. Shoot, that one's fine. That's not fine. I need to come back this way. Got to make another modification here. That's too bad. All right. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Okay, put that one there. Now, well, there we go. So this is how I want my stones in. I'm going to invert it, mark my cutoff here, just push it in the corner, cutting it long on purpose because of all that waterproofing. So that'll be my cut mark, but then we'll cut that straight. But in the bottom here, I'm actually gonna just round out that edge a little bit, okay? 10 1/4. So I'm looking at my line here. I'm going right up that wall. That is the only straight corner in the whole house. And that's great for me. That means absolutely nothing. We're gonna do this the same way we were on the bench as we did on the first wall. I have to put this in, I have to build this up, I have to get all the way over there, find out where the back wall cut is, and then move that grout line onto the face of the bench. This is where I realized defeat. I'm gonna cut that one in and just work until I run out of thin set, and then I'm gonna take lunch because I'm starting to get hangry, and I don't like that. Let's go 6 7/8. And then over here, I am 6 1/2. We'll take another 1/8 off of that. Okay. Why do I feel like that is messed up? Yeah, damn thing keeps turning off today. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, 6 1/2. I marked 5 1/2. Man, I really do need to eat. Okay. Here we go. All of that interruption today is taking me off schedule. Now it's impossible for me to finish this job today. Yep, that's just not going to be high enough. Not for a lack of trying. We're going to try to get this done. This is handy. Lunch is here in 5 minutes, so I'm just going to do some vertical stacking here to use up this thin set so that I can take a break. All right, to get my first metal in. Here we go. Now it's time to add the first metal of the shower. Floor to ceiling established, 91 1/4. Chrome finish. Okay, so there's more than one way to cut these things. One of the easiest is just a little wiggle. Gives you a nice clean finish. If you do too much of an aggressive bend, it distorts it a little bit. That is a great way to get that done. All right, and that should fit right on there. Perfect. I like to do this a little bit differently. I just like to load it all up. The reason I'm doing a few to get started, I really want this to be offset from there a little bit. Don't need back buttering in this scenario if you have enough cement pushing through, but it never hurts just to make sure you're gonna get a bond, right? Okay, here we are. There we go. We're gonna open up a 16th here, so we have somewhere for grout. A little proud. Okay, to guarantee we can shove the little tip in here. The only thing I need now is to finish off this section here. So, as long as I've been doing this channel, I've been sharing information like always work clean as you go, because life happens. Sometimes the phone rings, something interrupts yourself, and I got interrupted for lunch. And we got off lunch and we realized that we didn't have enough thin set, and we needed to make more before we could move forward with the project. So we go to the store, and Home Depot doesn't even have anywhere on the shelf a non-modified thin set. No alternative. Zero option. That blows my mind, because they sell a Red Guard uncoupling mat, and they sell Red Guard, and they need to have non-modified thin set to apply over those two products. I'm just blown away. Home Depot didn't have it, Lowe's didn't have it. What in the world are you selling products that require a specialty cement for if you're not going to supply the specialty cement? You're setting people up to fail. You're literally having them come to the store, and then you're going to sell them cement that's guaranteed to destroy the work they're putting in their home. You need to go back out onto your floor there, managers, and look at your product. And if you aren't selling the thin set to go with these products, then don't carry any of it. I'm going to have to drive an hour to Orlando, back to Floor & Decor, who carry the right products for tile installation. Cheers to you guys. So because I'm working in a small space, I'm gonna do this in reverse. I'm gonna leave my collapsible ridges on the tile and just back butter the wall. Okay, same thing, only different. So guys, here we go. A couple of quick tips here before cutting these slope pieces. And then we're gonna do the bench, we're gonna do the sill plates, okay, and the floor for the shower. When you're in a corner, you got a slope going up to the right, use the left side of the tape to make your measurement. And in my case, I actually have a metric. All right, now I got 52 millimeters in the corner here, but it's gonna be lower as it slopes down. So I'm gonna move over here and take a second measurement. I'm 55. So that's 3 millimeters for the thickness of the stone difference, right? So that makes it about 48, 49 in reality. And the truth is I want to have a couple mils off. So let me go, I'm going to try to go 47. And when you try to be this exact, it is going to be really frustrating. So realize that at the top, you're going to have a gap. It's okay. So here we're going to go 138. Again, I'm using the dry erase markers because they're amazing. And then this tile is going to be different. This one's going to be 140. And then over here, I'm going to measure off that corner this way so I can get a closer representation. We're going to go to 200 on this one. All right. There we go. Okay. Let's go do the bench now. The secret to doing the bench is this. You're going to need an edging along your tile. So the first thing you do is you cut your edge. And you want it to be pretty damn perfect, right? Like we're going to call that 30 inch. And then we'll do a dry fit. Now for the bench, I like to use plastic, and I don't like to use the metal. And I'll tell you why. The metal's just always cold. So when you go to sit down, it's cold on your legs. Like generally in a shower, you're pretty exposed. So for me and my money, I like to use the plastic in the wherever I'm going to be sitting, and metals wherever I need durability. And this plastic is a really hard plastic, so it's more durable than you think. Oh, just gold. Okay. So we're going to install that right away first. All right. Now, we don't need to have much in the way of a ridge here to break down. I just want to set it. And you're going to see that that little corner of the bench, they're sitting just a little bit higher than the rest. So I'm just beefing all this up. I'm going to set this down. I'm just going to set it in with my fingertips. Okay. Now I'm perfectly fine to have a grout space here, as long as I can get it consistent. And I'm going to go with a wedge sideways here so I can maintain a consistent gap all the way along while my thin set is setting up. Yeah, that's pretty close. We want to make sure that it's not sticking out further than the tile. Beautiful. So now we got something we can measure from. We're going to be going this way. You see this? Now this shower is incredibly not square. The walls in this room are kind of like bent. So if I go flat on this wall, I go into that corner and I'm out of square. That's a line, that's a line. Look what happens here. That's a line. It's close. So if I add the right grout line with this tile, I should be able to get this in all right. Let's see what we got. Measurement wise is just under 30. And then over here, we're just under 30. These are almost 10. They're a 1/4 inch shy though. So 3 tiles with a 1/4 inch grout line gives me quarter, 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 quarter. That's a full inch and I don't need that much. I just need the 3/4. So when you need 3/4 and you've got 4 grout lines, all you do is you do the math up to, I need 3/4 divided by 4. So I need less than a 1/4. I need 3/8. I'm just going to double this. So 3/16 is 3, 6, 9, 12 16ths, which is 3/4. That works. We're going to intentionally not try to line up any of these lines. All right, there we go. We want to see that bubble just passing the line, because the line, when it hits the line, it's 1 degree off, and just over the line, it's like 1.5, maybe 2, and I prefer that. So that's my system. When the bubble just crosses the line. And then all I do now is I just get a little bit of pressure in there, make sure that everything is bonded, and then clean your grout line. So you got somewhere to put grout. You don't want that to be thin set. It's worth saying over and over and over again, right? Okay, now we're going to push this in. We're going to maintain our grout line. Okay, so what happens here is this gets filled with grout. This plastic edging is comfortable, it's not cold, right? And then this tile is sitting higher than the plastic, but just a hair. And that's okay, because the grout will then round that in and fill it in, and it'll be a very natural, soft corner. We'll get all of these in as fast as possible. Okay, very good. Don't put it in backwards, Jeff. There we go. Okay. Now, you can see the effect of this crazy angle in here, right? So we're going to start tight in the back corner. We're going to let the grout and then our silicone bead do the cover up on this. So in this case, my silicone will have to be pretty significant, but I'll keep it consistent. Biggest issue here is right here. Making sure that all 3 of these pieces of tile are flush and have the same gaps in the front, same grout lines. There we go. All right. And then we'll just clean up after our mess. All right, guys, well, here it is. This is a basic, what do they call it? White marble? Okay, that's pretty pure white. They carry these things in slabs over at your local building store, okay? So really easy. They make a really nice shelf. They don't have grout lines. They don't have all the messing around. And it overhangs your tile wall, so you can get a silicone bead underneath to keep everything nice and watertight. So wet saw works on this, no problem. You don't need any specialty tools. Just line it up and go. Okay, so I cut it a little bit long for a reason. Now we got this protection. Now check this out. That gap is pretty consistent, which means that that wall is probably somewhat square. But over here, you can see that it goes from 0 to hero. So what we're gonna do, hold the marker against the wall. All right, now we're gonna cut that off, and then we'll be able to set this in place and thin set it. And then we're gonna fill this with cement. It's a big void at this point, so no sense trying to set stone in a void. We don't want to use a dab system, right, on the marble. We want to have this filled right up and then put a trowel line on the marble. Loving it. All we gotta do is set this sill in nice and level on a 1/2 inch ridge, and then press the front down. And we'll be guaranteed we got a good slope. Now there's gonna be an overhang, and that's fine. So I'm not trying to get it all pretty right to the front of the sill here, okay? So we'll squeeze out that, we'll clean up the extra after. Let's get this set in here. Using one little middle finger. There we go. That's high. Good. And you see when I hold it flat, again, we're just past that line, so it means we're sloping out. I know we're going to silicone that afterwards, but it's nice to not have anything in the way when you come back to do your grouting. All right, now let's move on and prep to lay this floor. Because everything is a parallelogram, means that for best results, you start on a flat surface and you pretend it's square. And then you can build a row and then get all your measurements after that. I don't want to try to start in a corner and kind of identify where the slope is. That could be absolutely devastating. I'm just going to comb some of this out, and I will show you our product. Okay. Here's the product. It comes on a sheet, on a cardboard backer. Okay. Now look at all those wonderful grays and blues, and look at that accent tile. And now you'll know why we put that on the accent on the wall. Anyway, I want to have a nice ridge there to set all that in. Okay. There we go. Bam. No sliding around with this one. We'll drop it in. You set it with the float. What you'll see is the cement comes through all of that mesh and it bonds, but it doesn't push through to the top of the stone. Because we use the right thickness, we can now grout, and we aren't going to have a mess on our hands, okay? That simple. Now, all we got to do from there is measure, coming this way, run that on the wet saw, and then fill all this in. Nice and simple, guys. Now, just to be sure, I'm going to grab another sheet. These are designed to work together in harmony, and we want to make sure that we got this corner here looking proper. Okay? So, yeah, it's not right. Let's just have another look here real quick. Oh, for God's sake, one of the stones fell off. Shit. Okay. Here we go. So I'm going to look at that. I'm like, this stone here is sticking further out than that one. Okay, let's just take a look at it over here on dry ground. Okay, put this up against a straight surface. Here we go. Yeah, they're almost perfect. All right, so what we want to do is go like this. Yeah, that's pretty perfect. All right, I'm gonna go with it. While we're thinking about it. Okay, here's the one that fell. Okay. All right, Yeah, 15.5 again, almost. This up against the stone, and we're going to translate onto the tile. And then I'm actually going to cut a little bit more, give myself a grout line. Okay, every one of these stones, leftovers, we're going to just peel them off. Now, the wonderful thing about the grout that we're using for the floor, it fills gaps as small as 1/32 up to 1/2 inch. And so since the tile is not a 1/2 inch thick, no matter what kind of position we see, this grout is going to be able to bond and sustain itself without cracking. And it's going to blow your mind, but that technology exists. Here we go. Now we're just going to do our own thing here with this stone. There's no rhyme or reason how any of this goes in. Yeah, I'm going to go small first. Here's that wedge. Big piece there. What in the heck, eh? And here's the one we cut from the template. Set it on the other stone. Slide it into position. Just lift these. Bam. All right. Counterbalance with the leg out. There we go. What I don't want to have is so much thinset on there that it makes a huge mess, right? Okay. Okay. And our tile will be complete. Okay. Whew, we have a floor. All right, we're back at the shower the next day. The step is really simple. The wedge creates a compression, so when I hit this, it has to break way deep in behind the tile. It's not even hard, okay? You could bring your kids in here, give them each a rubber mallet and let them go crazy. Maybe not, but okay? But the same concept, all right? But the goal here today is to get the rest of the tile installed. Here we go, guys. So here's a little bit of thin set. On a glazed tile, you're okay. Try to, lots of control. Don't chip right through into hitting the next tiles when you're using these tools. I like to use a real flexible 4-inch putty knife to clean my stone off. All this little powdery residue. Just to show you, you can actually follow the contour and clean all this stuff off pretty well. We're gonna wanna do this and really vacuum this place when we're done, right? Now, there's one other way to pull this off instead of doing it dry, and that is wet with a wet with a sponge, right? Because at the end of the day, metal tools can mark up your glaze. So, let's try it with water and we'll see how that effective is. This is why you want to use the sponge, not the tool. All of these materials that they use are water soluble. So you can literally wash your tile one at a time, making sure that every speck of the backer and your thin set is removed, even in your corners. A little bit of thin set here, okay? You wet it and you rub it a few times because the thin set is also water soluble for the first week or so. And that is why we're doing this. Now, remember when I was doing the tile job, I encouraged you all to work as clean as possible because this is a real pain in the butt and it's tedious and you have to do it before you grout. So sometimes just washing your tile work down takes longer than grouting. It all depends on how clean you are while you're working. Be methodical, one tile at a time, one row at a time. Okay, so you don't miss anything. Because if you miss any of this and you start grouting, then you're going to get chunks of this in your grout, and you're going to get dabs of white dots or dirt or whatever in your grout. And usually when you find the dirt, it's just after you've grouted and you go back to wash. They take the haze off, and then you uncover it in the grout. It's Murphy's Law. You always find your dirt after you do your wash of your grout. So it's easier to get rid of it now. Guaranteed it's not going to be part of the problem. So here we have a little bit of thin set. It's right on the edge of that tile. So I'm just going to use my 5-1. Slowly, gently scratch that out. Okay. You want to have nice open gaps. So if you're trying to be meticulous, now is the time to do it. Okay? Be meticulous now so that when you grout, you aren't going to be exposing dirt and chunks of cement and all this other stuff later. Because when the grout is setting up is not the time to be trying to clean anything either, right? Now that we got this sucker washed up, I can feel confident moving forward to finish my tile that I'm not going to have thin set that advances and gets too dry. Man, there's always something left, eh? Okay, so I'm just going to go put the last few tiles on, and then we're going to do the front, and then we'll seal the floor, and then we'll put on the curb. All right, well, we're done in here. Finally. Well, guys, time to do the capping on this wall here. Oh, just ran all those tiles through the wet saw. And I want to get a measurement 88 1/8. And then one in here goes to the floor, 89 3/8. 88 1/8. I'm gonna write this down. 89 3/8. Okay. There we go. Always write it down. I'm gonna just run out to the chop saw and run these chromes through that because it is just a chromed aluminum, and my carbide tip saw blade will take care of that. No problem. Get a nice clean finish. I'm going to cut this first tile at that height, and I'm also going to that high. All right, let's get that in here. Bam. Okay. Now, the way we're going to do this is I'm going to start by just getting that post covered in thin set. It's really just as simple as scraping it off both sides of the tile. I'm going to just gently set it place into the thin set here. Back butter that, and a couple of grooves, okay? It's going to take a bit of material to fill this in. There we go. Oh, that's not the first one. Just finished doing that first one. There we go. Now we can build. Clean some of that grout line out as I go. So we've got room for grout to go in there. And just a little tile trick here. I don't have one on me today, but when I was doing tile for a living, we used a #1 pencil. You know, like those little brown ones they used to use in school before they let you use a pen? You can use a pencil right up there because there's no metal parts if you don't have something like a 11-link clip system on you. Okay, that is a great way to clean out a grout line. Okay, here we go. Now, put my groove in. I'm gonna take another dollop in here, right down the middle. And what we're gonna do with that is we're gonna force this in. There we go. See, this doesn't squeeze out because you have 3 different depths. You've got the depth to the metal, you got the depth to the cement board, right? And then it goes back up again. So you comb the whole trowel, leave a dollop down the middle, and then when you press it in, what it does is it squeezes in behind the metal as well and bonds everything together, okay? And that is how you get a great corner with a nice grout line on each side on the back. So here's the lines that meet the metal, and that's the build out to get to the cement pour. There we go. There we go. Perfect. And perfect. It's my luck, right? I'm actually 1 tile short. I want to pick up where this leaves off and then cut this last piece, right? Because the grout line lines up with that pretty much right over here. But instead, I'm going to have to go like this. Set that metal, okay? And prep this to add that tile later. I got a half a pail of thin set here with my name on it, and I am not going to let it go hard while I'm waiting. Okay, so there's my spot. That's what I'm building off of. I'm going to do this one a little bit differently. By setting like this, it'll hold weight, but it'll also be very easy to remove. There we go. So here's what's going on. We use the laser level to set my line, but my floor has a slope. So if I leave my tile on that, I have a huge gap underneath here. So instead of doing that, I have my wedges. I'm going to compensate with 1 wedge for every one of these grout lines, okay, until we get caught up. And that's all we're going to do. Okay. And by the time the tile line gets up to eye level, it'll all be perfect. It's a bit of a cheat. But since nothing is built perfect, especially in a mobile home, you gotta have a few cheats up your sleeve, right? Tile is more about precision than even drywall. Because drywall is the art of deceiving people into thinking everything's smooth. You're not gonna be in a perfect scenario every day of your life, that's for sure. So, gotta be able to take the punch and bend with it and make some adjustments. I know if you have an option, I'm actually level here now. Perfect. Okay, mission accomplished. 2 3/4. Oh, bloody hell, I'm gonna need the ladder to get up here, aren't I? All right. There we go. Sound effects and all, eh? This job is just never gonna end if I don't bloody well do it, eh? I did that an hour ago. We're gonna see if our first attempt here is gonna pass. Obviously not. See how square all this is? Or not square. I'm about an inch past my metal there, which coincides with here. So let's try this. Let's see if that angle there works better. Yes, sir, it does. So that actually is now scribe this. Remember, I told you the shower is kind of a parallelogram. So that even though this is a straight wall, it's still got a bit of a twist to it. It's all right, we'll get it fixed up. One more time. Now, I know you might think this is excessive, but because of the way that the waterproofing wraps at both ends, it's just so much easier where you're going to need to clean up. Okay? So we'll do that, and we'll simply set it in. Okay. Now, I got a pretty aggressive slope on there right now. I want it to be just past the line. All right, so that's level. We just rock it, put our slope on there, and that thin set at this point is going to hold that there. Not too aggressive, we still have to put door track on. There, just past the line. That's a perfect 1 degree slope. Remember when you're working with these natural stone sills, you want to use a white cement because they will die. They'll take on the color of any adhesive or thin set that you're using. So, using the Schluter All Set White, again, the perfect cement for any scenario. I hate doing free ads for companies, but this is really going to be the best bet for you guys, so that you don't run into issues on your build. There really just is no reason why you should ever have to use the gray anymore. All right, there we go, mission accomplished. Okay, so aside from the fact that I've got to go to the store and buy one more tile so that I can cut these two pieces, I should probably get two. Yeah, I better get two. Maybe I'll buy a whole box and just stick one in storage here. So I'll have to do that. Run a little strip for the backside under the sill as well. Everywhere where you're working with tile, you're using natural surface materials like marble, terrazzo, quartz, even river stone. Okay, all of these materials they absorb water. They have to be sealed. You want to resist the temptation to seal this when you're done grouting for the following reasons. First of all, there's a lot of different color in this stone. Okay, you don't see it right now because it's not sealed. Once we seal it, all those colors will come through. But if you grout first, all of these stones are going to absorb that colorant from the grout, and they're going to change the color of every one of those stones to the color of the grout. And that's going to be a problem because you bought it because you wanted those colors. So here's what we do. We put it in our stone. We try to set it into a thin set and just to embed it in a small 1/4 by 3/8 line. But inevitably, because of the variation and the gaps, sooner or later you're going to have a spot where some thin set rises to the surface, gets a little bit too close, okay? And so what we want to do is we want to get in there, break that up a little bit so that we have something to fill, right? We don't want to have thin set, we want to have grout. So we're just looking for little imperfections. But I'm going to be using a grout that has a sealer in the grout. Okay, so it's one-step application. But really what I'm looking for here is I'm just trying to be as picky as I can be about my situation so that I've always got somewhere for the grout to sit. All right, here we go. And next thing I'm going to do is take out my vacuum this clean, and then we'll talk about the product that we're going to use to apply on this. I'm actually going to grout this shower with a new construction grout, and then I'm going to show you how to seal it. right? So that when you guys are working, you'll have lots of play, lots of time to apply your product and wash it. And then you'll know how to seal your grout in your house. Because 99 out of 99 bathrooms don't have sealed grout in them. All right, here's a really interesting situation. This is a little bit of thin set that got on that stone during construction. Imperative we get rid of that. Okay. There we go. When you're doing work like this, it's all about the preparation, right? Applying the product is usually easy. It's about the preparation, and knowing which product to put on is also very important. Here's what I'm using. It's an impregnator sealer, which basically means it's a penetrating sealer. So it's not going to sit on the surface of the stone as much as on the surface, but it's going to get inside that stone. So it'll lock out the ability for moisture to travel into it. And that is why we're using it. And I'm using, oh great. Okay, I'm using the my paint pan. It's just a paint caddy. It comes with a plastic liner, disposable. Okay. Went by the HD this morning, picked up a disposable brush. Not going to use a rag. Okay, I'm just going to pour a generous helping of that in there. You don't want it dripping everywhere. Okay, just a touch of rock. We're going to just touch a rock here. I'll show you the difference. Now that's what the stone's supposed to look like. Let's take a look at this one here. Look how boring that is, right? Let's get the sealer on there. Wow, look how much character it is, huh? This is what I'm talking about. That's what I bought. I bought something that's going to feed off of this glasswork that's above me in the shower. So I'm going to start with underneath my sill. Okay, I'm just going to paint it on, not too liberal here, all right? You don't have it as a great big drippy mess. It penetrates, but it only goes so much in there. Okay, here we go. It's just enough to get that stone to change its, to reflect its natural color. Now, let's start back here. Let's bring this stone to life. So this does two things. It's an enhancer, so you see the actual beauty of the stone. It seals it so that when you grout, you don't change the color of it. It's also a perfect opportunity right now before I grout. If I hit thin set, it's going to scream at me. There we go, see that? Bam, thin set, thin set. Yep. I got an opportunity to do something about that right now. This is what I'm talking about. Being picky on your job means you're in the driver's seat. The worst time to find that there's a problem was in the middle of your grout job. Now, let's just take a quick look now. Sealed and not sealed. Right? I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm getting excited about grouting this thing now, because this is going to look amazing when it's done. All right, we'll get the lights in here and we'll do a little pan action. You can see how pretty this is. That, it just keeps on popping.
Looks good.
Okay guys, so when you're doing grout work, the secret is to mix at low speed. And you can do it by hand. It's actually preferred, especially when you're working with a grout that has a really long set time. Now we've got a third type of grout. We have a polymer additive grout. And that's what we're gonna use today. We're not gonna go with a traditional sanded grout without a sealer. We're gonna use one that has a polymer with a sealer. But today, let's start with the walls. Always want to grout from the top down. Rule number 2, mix the whole bag at once. Read the label. And it says we need to put in approximately, wow, get me some glasses. Holy cow, I can't read that small. That little circle there.
48 to 54 ounces, 1.4 to 1.6 liter.
Okay. Wow, okay. So here we are. So I'm a little shy on my water here. okay? If you're a beginner, then having a pail with the measurements on it is really effective. Okay, here we go. Now I'm just shy of 2. And I probably am gonna hate myself for going that much. I think I'd rather leave a little bit of room so I can add some water while I'm mixing. All right, same rule applies. Put in like half a bag, all right? And then make sure you get a mixture like this, because what this does is it cleans out the corners. These products tend to just settle in the corners. Nice and gentle. Make a mixture. Run it right into the edges. Make sure you don't have any of that buildup happening. And then we can add the rest of the contents right in the middle, okay? Try your best not to put it up against one side, or you're gonna have a great big dry chunk later. Now, if you have a slow mixer, you have a lot more control. If you have a DeWalt drill, you can put it on low speed. This is a sensitive drill that I bought to try to save money on this job. Whoa, there we go, easy on the speed. Here we go. And the reason we want to go easy on the speed is this is a combination of a bunch of different particles of different colors to achieve the color that we want. And generally speaking, white grout is white grout, even if it doesn't look like white grout when it comes out of the bag. Right now it looks a little bit brown. Trust me, believe it or not, that's actually white. That looks like a good mix. I'm happy with that. So let's go talk about the application process. Now remember, the way we grout is we grout all of our surfaces. And I know in times past you've seen me, I'll grout the inside corner as well, but then I add the silicone. Today we're gonna follow the actual tile rules for the Tile Council of North America, and we're not gonna put anything in the gaps. Every change of plane should be silicone, not grout. Okay, here we go. This is a nice little paste. We don't wanna start with too much, okay? Again, this is all about controlling the application. We don't wanna get this grout on the floor because it's a different product than what we need on the floor. I like to get a little bit of product on the wall, and then I can start working. And you can see that it lumps and sags really nice. It's gonna sit there while I'm working. The basic process here is you wanna take your grout that's on your float, and you wanna have it on a 45-degree angle to the line and off the tile. And you wanna go like this. You're snow plowing it in. You're actually forcing it into those grooves and pushing the air out. That's what the 45-degree does, okay? Make sense? So you can push it in, okay? And make sure that it's filled. If you don't do it this way, it's gonna look filled, and then when you go to wash the wall, you're gonna find that you wash that little bit of grout off that was sitting there, and then you have an air pocket, and then you gotta go back and touch it up. And it tends to take a long time to grout like that. So, 45s everywhere you go. Run your line, okay? And if you have too much product on your sponge, your grout float, sorry, then get rid of it. Okay, maintain control over your environment. Every time you do a line, you want that 45. Okay? And then we clean as we go. Now with this tile, it has a texture. So again, 45, 45. We're gonna push that in and not try to fill that corner. And then you can clean. You follow the texture to clean, okay? It creates less work for you later on. There we go. Just gotta be careful how much product you're putting on so that we're not making the floor job difficult. Okay? I'm gonna just finish up these grout lines here. All right. Okay. This line here is going to be silicone as well, so we don't need grout there. And we use grout up against our metal edging. It's counterintuitive to everything I just said. Now, you can see that I'm leaving the wall pretty clean. Greatly reduces the amount of work that I got to do later. Do yourself a favor, work clean. You work a lot less if you work clean. If you work messy, you'll end up putting a lot more effort into your wall. Okay, now, that is how I think you should grout if you're a beginner, okay? And here's how you can grout once you get a little bit of experience. Load up your grout, okay, and just run it up the wall. And then you come back on a 45 and press it all in. Load it, press it. Load it, press it, okay? Makes the process a lot faster. And you'll know you're comfortable in using it once you've actually washed a few walls and you don't have those pinholes showing up when you're washing. That means you've got your process down really good. Okay, they do set up, this particular grout gives you well over an hour of working time. And depending on the humidity, the temperature, the ratio of water to the grout, it all affects the drying time of this product. You may or may not find yourself with enough time to get the job done if you use the wrong grout. One of the keys here is to always have a little bit left over when you're finished for doing minor touch-ups. Okay. Don't fill this area here with grout. When we're in our final plumbing, if you're really concerned about water getting behind there, you can add silicone at that point. There will be an extrusion flange to cover that. I've had times in the past where people have commented in my members forum, what do I do, Jeff? I use the wrong grout and now it's hard and I can't polish it. I'm like, retile your bathroom. It's the only answer. Seems rather extreme, but it is the truth. So if you don't want to have to retile your bathroom, use a grout that's easy to work with. And I'm not saying it's not work to do this. I'm just saying it's a lot less work than the other option. Now you'll see the longer you go, the stiffer this product gets, the more work it is to apply it. Now I mix my pail instead of at 1.8, but 1.6. And the reason for that is I'm trying to protect my floor. If I mix this at 1.8, it would last a lot longer, okay, and make it easier for me to wash. But I chose a more difficult installation so I don't have grout flying everywhere. Because when it's wet, it is really difficult to control. So you'll see when I'm done this wall, I barely have anything sitting on the bench beneath me. Not that I'm not trying to let it get there, but just the nature of stiff grout. Just be careful here with your metals. Really force that in there, guys. It becomes part of the structure. If you don't get a good fill, then there's a risk that metal deflecting when people sit on the bench. Okay? Deflection is your enemy. That causes things like cements and grouts to break. Now you notice the float, it's got round corners and square corners. Okay? When you're going up near a ceiling, you're going to do a fill. Use the square. Because you can put that product on the wall and then wipe it off pretty consistently. Just press it in. Okay, walk away. Let it set up, and then we can clean it later. When you're going up against your inside corners, use it like this so you don't press the grout into that corner. Now you see I got a fair amount of grout left here. Probably have enough for half that wall. But it's not worth it to try to save that $10 in product, because you're gonna have to open the next bag anyway. And the next bag is gonna have enough for the whole wall. Instead of being cheap and try to say, ooh, I saved a half a bag of grout, and mixing those two colors together, you can't do that because they're gonna dry at different rates. Your grout will go to junk, okay? Just throw it out, wash your tools, and then move on. Now this is done, I move right into washing. I'm not gonna wait around. Well, here we go, guys. Shout out to Lowe's, by the way. Lowe's carries the grout that I like. See how easy this is to work with? I'm not doing much, it's just a damp sponge. I'm going across the grout line because that's a beveled edge. And if I just go back and forth across like that, I got a perfect beveled edge. Now here, it's filled up. There's way too much grout here. What we do is we're gonna just wipe back and forth across that edge and add whatever pressure we need to make that line consistent, okay? Now it's a consistent grout line. Here we go, same thing. You don't want to put too much pressure that you're gouging it out. If you go with it, with your pressure, you'll just scoop it all out of the grout line. So go contrary to it and just polish it in until the beveled edge of that tile is protecting that grout from being wiped out and it's consistent with the rest of the tile work that you're doing. When you get in these corners, go both directions. You're going to want to have 2, maybe 3 pails of water. You're going to be pulling off the product and contaminating your water with the product. So this is step 1. It has so much grout in there that the sponge actually wants to sink to the bottom. This one is number 2. There's hardly any content in that water, so the sponge still floats. Make sure to take your sponges out. These are not sea sponges. The longer they're in the water, the more they degrade. Okay, so let them stay dry when you're not using them. All right, so I'm just buffing with light pressure, realizing that water is part of the abrasion. So if it's not cleaning out, add a little bit more pressure if your sponge is getting dry. I'd rather pass the sponge 6 or 7 times on a grout line with light pressure than try to make it perfect with one wipe. Now the sanded grout that we use on floors is much simpler to work with. And there's a totally different procedure for grouting that. You see, this is the difference between a good grout job and a bad grout job. Let me show you, 1 second. Let me just clean this tile out. How many times in the world do we see grout jobs that look like this and they're finished? It all looks great, and then somebody missed a line. And they try to sell that off as like, oh, well, yeah, that happens. Contractors, you all know it. That doesn't happen if you're paying attention and you're not trying to rush off to the next thing. That is not a professional grout line. You can't charge people money for that. Okay? And if you're a homeowner, don't accept it. You tell them exactly what you want your grout lines to look like. Have a picture handy. But for the best results as a homeowner hiring somebody in your home, be on site and manage them by watching as they work. This is the last part of making a tile job look pretty. And if you screw this up, the whole job just looks like a rookie did it. Looks like a child was in your bathroom. This entire shower is going to take me well over an hour to finish installation and buffing. And it's not my first rodeo. All right, guys, so I intentionally left the bottom here. Wanted to show you what happens when you leave it. So what you want to do is have a system where you start on a wall, top to bottom, whatever it is, have a system left to right, right to left. Wash in the same manner, okay? Now I've left this, and I went and washed my other walls first. You can see how difficult this is. Look at the line here. It's like breaking up on me, okay? Now this isn't a problem. You can still salvage this. The key is just get it wet. Nice, gentle surface pressure, okay? Let that water sit there for a minute. It'll soak it up, soften up, and then we can buff. This is the flexibility that I'm talking about with this grout. This was the other product with the polymer, and you made the same mistake, which is easy to do. You just get like a phone call, or you get turned around and you come back, and you come back and you go, and you can't get it off, because that polymer sets up, and there's no way to reverse that by adding water. That's working out really nice here. This was done much later than that first tile. I'm pretty sure when I started this video, I started down here in this corner. Now it's almost at the very end. Now, I wet it. Now we're gonna just buff it now. Takes a little bit more work. But again, as long as you go against the line and you're not scooping it out, you'll get a really consistent finish. You'll end up buffing all of that extra grout out of that beveled edge of the tile. Now, if you're working with marble or travertine, a lot of times they won't have a beveled edge. Even more important to make sure that you have a process, keep your water cold, okay? Have somebody helping you to change out your pails, keep your water clean, because at the end of the day, the quality of your grout work is 20% about the product and 80% about your application. 1, 2, and 3 walls are completely finished. All right, I've got a couple areas. Really, this is kind of simple. We have to maintain the same concept as 45 degrees. You want to have a sponge that you've wrung out, so it's not leaking, okay? And you set it and you pull. That's a pass. You set it and you make a pass. Now it's dirty. Now you wash it, okay? Set it, make a pass. Flip it over, set it, make a pass. And that should get 90–95% of it. What we don't want to do is make too many passes on the same section, because what happens is you're going to pull the color out. Any more than that, you're going to be inconsistent with what's influenced that grout color, and you're going to have streaks and lines and everything else. Now, mine's not as crucial because it's white, but if this was a navy blue grout or something, you would see a dramatic change if you changed the process on any part of your grout line. If you leave grout haze on there and you don't do this step, then you're going to need to go out and buy a chemical to take this off. Now, you might be able to polish it off the next day. That's not a very good grout line there. Okay, but you aren't going to get it off 2 days later. No siree. So if you go and polish, or you do your grout work on a Sunday, and then you go back to work, and you haven't polished this properly, got the haze off, it's there for good. And you're going to be spending about 50 or 60 bucks on a grout haze remover, and it's going to be work. Remember, all of these products are cement-based. Okay, they've all got a bit of Portland cement in it. And that stuff is not to be messed with once it's dried. Grout specifically is not designed to be washed off after the fact, okay? The thin set is actually more merciful than the grout if you leave it on the wall. Make sure you wash your ceilings and your walls as well. There we go. Wipe, wipe, wipe. Wipe. I'm just leaving that grout in there as a backer for my silicone, okay? It's just too difficult to do a silicone joint that's that thick. It's all wiped in. Do the bottom of this one. I haven't done any of this yet. Okay, now I'm going to wash my floor. Inevitably, you're going to get a little bit of grout on here. We try our best to manage that. This is your last chance to inspect your floor before we put our other grout product on. And if there's a little bit of moisture in here, it's not going to hurt anything. Remember, this is natural stone, so because natural stone needs all the help it can get to make sure that it's sealed up. Oh, there's a little piece of grout there. I'm just wiping the whole thing so that the grout goes dark on me again. If it fell earlier, it'll go light, so I just make sure I pass water everywhere so that imperfections scream, all right? Shower's done. Now let's go take care of this floor. Okay guys, time for grout number 2. This one is the Ultra Color Plus FA. Basically means polymer, and it has a sealer in it. Now, all grout needs to be sealed. If it isn't sealed, it's like natural stone. It'll absorb water and then release it in behind where your waterproofing system is. You don't want to introduce water to your waterproofing system. You don't want to tax it. Why make it work so hard, okay? So, we want to use sealer because it extends the life of the shower. Bottom line. 99% of the tile in the world is not sealed. That's just the way it is, because most people have tile in new home construction, and no one in the new home construction business uses this grout. They all use the cheap stuff, because the unsanded grout is half the price, okay? So think of 8 million bags of grout a year being used in new home construction, and times an extra 10 or 15 bucks a bag. The industry's not paying for that. And nobody in the homeowner builders, no homeowners know the difference, right? So you all think, well, of course they seal it. That sounds like integrity. That sounds like it should be done, but it isn't being done, trust me. And if you're not sure if it's done, just go take some water and wipe your wall. And if the grout line changes color, it's not sealed, okay? That's how you know. This particular grout goes 1 liter of water, not 1.4 to 1.8. It's less water. Now, I've heard people say, oh, I used this product before, no problem. You probably made it with too much water, okay? That slows down the chemical reaction time and it buys you more working time, but it's also really thin when you put it on like that. And you probably didn't get your grout lines filled very well. You probably shrunk a lot after your installation. Yeah, I should wear a mask, I know, but I don't do this every day anymore. Not a big deal. Again, the secret is in mixing it really slow, like really slow. This one's actually really better done by hand. The faster you mix this, the faster it sets. The warmer the water, the faster it sets. The drier the air, the faster it sets. The drier the floor you're putting it on, the faster it sets. That's why I just finished washing the floor. Adding that little bit of moisture is going to give me a lot of working time. Now this particular product, after you've mixed it, it wants a few minutes to set up. Give it the setup time. It's going to be really sloppy right now. They want the setup time to be 4 to 5 minutes. So you mix this, and it's just runny mush. It's just soup. Okay, it's like lobster bisque, only it's gray. The reason I'm using warm gray, which is the color, because even with the sealer, okay, people have oil on their feet. And wherever floor you walk on, with your bare feet, is going to absorb oil out of it, and that oil is going to trap dirt, and your grout's going to go gray. I don't care what color you use, it goes gray, because dirt is gray. All right, so you might get a year or two out of blue or white or whatever. It's all going to end up going gray. So if you start with gray, then no one can tell when it goes gray. And then your floor will be intentional gray everywhere instead of just gray where you walk. All right, so do yourself a favor and go gray on the floor. It's the most logical choice. Give this the full 5 minutes before we start using it, because it starts to set up. It's already getting thicker. You see that? It's only been a minute. It's already starting to set. This is a chemical reaction. This is not a traditional unsanded or sanded grout. You got to trust the science. Give it the 4 or 5 minutes. Set your watch to it, because you don't want to give it 10, because this has limited working time once you get it in the floor. Okay, so we're going to remove our floor grate for this process. You'll notice we still haven't cut away this membrane that separates the drain from here. That's important, okay? Whenever you're working with textured tile, you really got to take extra precaution and care to take care of this mess. Texture equals problems. Okay, here we go. Now let's see how this is working out. Ooh, it's getting thicker still. Still have about 2 to 3 minutes left. So we wait. Don't want to be in a hurry. Working with all this grout sucks the living daylights out of the moisture in body. Holy cow. You're going to see all these air bubbles. This product is still trying to set up. All right, so what we're going to do is we're just going to push it around. Nice, almost like a floor leveler, because I made it a little on the wet side. Okay. And you can mix this like a paste if you like, but the minute you do that, you're running out of time. One little trick here. Okay. Protect that white grout line with a trowel. All right, there we go. And this is why we use the sealer. Imagine pouring this all over the stone without having a sealer on it. This is one of these products you got to have some comfort factor of the fact that you know how it sets up. Okay, I know that this stuff sets up. It's not going to shrink very much at all. Remember, we don't need to have grout all the way into that corner. What we want to do is finish all that with silicone. And these stones that we're working with are very flat surface, okay? So I'm just getting rid of the extra grout. And you can use a grout float for that as well. The longer this sits there, the more it sets up. It's starting to get really thick in here. I know there's a lot of you guys out there that like to mix this stuff the same as regular grout as far as its consistency. You like that pasty, powdery feel, right? That toothpaste thing. But I'm telling you right now, you mix this with the right amount of water, it is going to be runny. So if you're going to do a shower and you're going to do walls with this product, you've got to make it thicker, or you got to be patient until it really sets up. area clean. What we're going to do is we're going to just work on the surface here in the middle. Dry sponge, okay? Now it's still wet. You can see I got a bit of an air hole here, okay? We're going to just work that in. We're just going to keep on doing this. Every 2 or 3 minutes I'm going to come back, try the sponge out, okay? And I'll test the product again and see if it's gotten stiff. Once it's gotten stiff, then we can start work on basically tooling the area with the sponge. There we go. Now we wait. So it's setting up here, guys, now. So it's kind of like the way you set this polymer in here is just like when you're doing the second pass on regular grout. Gentle, and you wipe. Okay? Now, inevitably we're going to get a couple of air bubbles here. We're going to fix that in just a minute. Let's get the extra material out of our way. Set it, and then wipe. That exposes the top of that stone, leaves a little bit of an indent. There we go. And takes the extra grout off the surface. There we go. All right. Oh, hey.
I didn't do it.
Okay, everybody out. It's fine. It is what it is. Oh, Jesus. Right there. All right, well, that just happened. Here I am in the middle of making my video using a product that has zero mercy in it, and the power for the entire neighborhood just went out. We are in a brownout situation. So, regardless, I got to get this done. Yeah, right over top of us if you can. I'm just going to come in here, and just like the other wall tile that you saw, I'm just going to wipe and drag, okay? And try to get as much of the extra residue off of the surface as possible. Bring your hand in nice and dry, okay? There we go. That is some good looking stone. Might I suggest for all of the tradesmen out there, have a good portable light setup with you if you're ever working with this product, because this is a real scenario nowadays. The more we try to switch to electrical power with a failing grid, the more we run into rolling brownouts. It's just part of the new world we're living in. And if you can, grab yourself a hard hat, strap a couple of flashlights to it, so that you can always be confident that you can finish what you start. Unbelievable. Now listen, I know that a lot of guys out there, you got a different process than I do. All right, there ain't nothing wrong with what I'm doing here. It may just be a little bit different than what you recommend for your clients. So guys, if you hire somebody to do a project for you, and their process is just a little bit different than mine, it's not necessarily wrong, it's just different. All right, now, I'm going to wait until this is almost rock hard. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to polish the big pieces of grout that are left here, okay? Not the most opportune situation, but at the same time, you know, you got to adapt. You got to overcome your challenges, especially when you're working with this product. Here we go, guys. Time to add the silicone. Everything is nice and clean and dry. I'm so happy. Man, oh man. Every time you have a transition from one plane to another or a change of material, you want to use this. The only exception, of course, is for the aluminum trims and the plastic trims on the tile. Don't ask me why, they never seem to crack there. I think it's just a marvel of modern science. There we go. Boom, locked and loaded. Now, try to work clean. It's not always easy. I have one finger that I use to wipe the silicone. Everybody's going, oh, get the little attachments, the little plastic squares with the rounded edges. Yeah, try using that with textured tile. If you use any kind of rigid tool to put your silicone on in this environment, you're gonna have a disaster on your hands. The only tool that works every single time is right here, okay? All right, stop telling me in the comments to go buy somebody else's plastic tool that I invented a couple years ago. We've been adding silicone and stuff on products for 1,000 years. We don't need the tool. You wanna have the tool with the tip of the 45 pointed up, and then you just run the bead nice and gentle, not too much material, and you slow down if you have to fill a gap until you see it just crest the surface. This is not a speed thing, it's not under a lot of pressure. I'm just adding a little bit of pressure as I go when I see it not pushing through. Because I want to have a little bit of excess, so when I push it in with my thumb, I get a concave shape in the corner, just like my thumb. It's concave, it's round, all right? My thumb, my middle finger. Gentle now, I'm just gently covering the gap one side of the next, pushing that silicone into the gap in behind, dragging it through. There should be almost nothing on my finger when I'm done. Just a dab, okay? That's what you're looking for. And then with that dab, you can just wipe that little corner in the glass, okay? There we go. Now you can clean the glass so it's not there. And then we can use even just gentle pressure. Add a thin bead for the glass. And then a little bit more here because that gap is a little more substantial. Now, 2 tricks I'm going to teach you. You can run a silicone bead really effectively on a tight space rather quickly, okay? You just put the top there, you create a nice little V, and you can just run it, okay? Nothing to it, okay? Or if you have a big gap like this, you can use your hand to hold the tip off of the corner so that you're actually leaving a fair amount of material sitting just above the height of the tile. You see that? This is another technique. You don't need any blue tape. You don't need to prep your walls. You don't need to spend hours sorting out how and what tools and taping everything off. You can't tape this off anyway because of the texture. Okay, that's a big gap going to a small gap. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna start in the middle. We're gonna pull in one direction, nice and gentle and slow. Okay, trying to maintain pressure on one tile only at a time. Okay, so you get a clean line on the tile. And then we'll go to the other side and do pressure on that side to finish the look, okay? And you just wipe a few times until all the excess material is removed. And you've got a nice concave sweeping curve. And then you can start up here and finish the next section. If you let the build up on your finger too much, then all you do is make a huge mess. Okay? Now that it's a small crack, I can set this tube in on the corner, knowing I'm not going to overfill. Okay, and I just always make sure I got a little bit more material there than I'm expecting. There we go. Gentle pressure for both sides at one time makes one pass, all right? Silicone does a wonderful job at diverting water, but if it's sitting in water, it always loses its bond with the material you set it on. So always make sure you've got slopes, always make sure you've got convex or concave structure. Never push it in so deep that you're holding any water at all, or it will fail. It's part of the system, okay? Part of waterproofing is making sure that things don't fail. Once it comes out, it starts to dry. This stuff is 30 minutes and is ready for the rain, for Pete's sake, if you want. Okay, so even at 3 to 5 minutes in the shower, you can't go back and touch it again because it's already started curing. Super quick. All right. Only other thing I can advise is if you see any pinholes, like I got right here with your grout, now's the time to fix that with a dab of silicone. Just throw another dab in there. Oh, I gotta go clean my caulking gun now. I've got all kinds of goop on it. Now, just so you know, the finger's great for going one way. The thumb's great for going the other way. And when I have a big gap at a ceiling, grab some cardboard. I'll just go 3 inches at a time after I put the product on. And then get rid of the extra. There's no way that you're gonna do a great job if you have too much material on your finger. The secret here is to put pressure against the ceiling, all right, so that you get a great seal on the ceiling tile, but not pressure into the gap. There we go. Okay. Only putting pressure on the ceiling tile and against the tile, okay? Put pressure up, so I'm pushing up as I drag, and I'm just setting it near the tile as I drag, so I don't scoop it all out of the gap. There we go. Now this stuff has a like almost 50% expansion contraction rate. All right, so you'll never get that inside your house. So that means that'll be sealed for life, because water won't sit behind something if water can be diverted down. Cheers. Just because it's underneath the sill, anywhere where your sill meets tile, you need silicone joint. That's why the sill is wider, okay? Because if you let water, and you know the properties of water, it's rather sticky like, right? It'll come around here, it'll get to this corner, it won't drip from here. It'll travel all the way up backwards and then drip. But if it finds grout, it'll soak into that grout, okay? If you don't seal it especially. But whatever, you can also find thin set. In a lot of cases when you're working, you're gonna find that you don't do the perfect grout joint underneath. Make sure you put the silicone there so that you're not encouraging water to travel in the wrong direction. Water doesn't just travel downhill. It travels to any material that's drier than itself. And so if there's any break in your waterproof membrane, it'll say, ooh, cement board dry. Ooh, the wood behind the cement board is dry. It'll just keep on traveling. Now, because I've got white on the wall but gray on the floor, what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna grab a silicone tube of gray at the very end of the job after I put in the doors, and I'm gonna do, the last thing I do is gonna be silicone the edge of that floor up against that tile, okay? But for now, I'm just gonna finish getting all of these vertical surfaces, and we can get on with the plumbing fixture, because that is what makes this look sexy. Now, don't be surprised if it takes you 2 tubes of silicone in a shower like this, all right? A simple shower with just 4 walls, nah, no big deal. Or 3 walls, no big deal. But with all these extra corners and benches and angles, just plan on having 2 so you don't have to run back to the store when you're halfway through the project, all right? Okay, well that's enough for now. Let's pull out the plumbing fixtures and get those installed. All right, guys, so here's my trim kit. So what I did, if you remember way back to the beginning of this project, is this is the exact same shower that was here before. It's a Delta. It's a brass body, okay? And they make the same brass body for, I don't know, the last 1,000 years. And what you can do is you can buy the trim kit. And that includes a new faceplate with gaskets to seal everything. And it's shiny and new, not old and ugly and affected by water and years of abuse, okay? It also comes with a new valve. Because with Delta, they send you the original body, the valve body, with a test cap. Now this ring here is actually replaces the test cap once you put the valve in. Now the valve's working great, so I'm gonna put this in storage in case anybody needs it down the road. Okay, it comes with a brass handle, nice and heavy. Bam, and a brass neck, not tin. All right. Nothing like buying commercial products and getting a commercial price. Now it also comes with the collar. Check this out. All right, this slides over that existing O-ring. All right, all the way up. There we go. Looks amazing. I know, it goes on so quick it'll blow your mind. We got hot, cold, off, and then the word Delta. And all we do is slide this into position. Okay, now the way this works is the valve body has 2 stems on it, one up and one down, on the back side with a hole in it and machine thread for the same situation. And it's relatively installed flat, you know, but to tighten it up, we're gonna do, I'm going to go like this, and we're gonna just peek it, sneak a peek. All right, we're gonna get this on. We're gonna try to set it where that hole goes. Oh yeah, that's a hole right there. All right. And we're going to try to finger tighten and then give it a tug. And then you finger tighten in it and you can tug it out. Then you're in the machine thread, you're not cross-threaded. Resist the temptation to drill yet. Let's find the other one. I think I found it there. It's just a matter of playing the feeler boat game, making sure things look like they're perpendicular to the wall surface. There we go, I think we got it. Now we're gonna give it just a little bit of a, there we are. Okay. Now, there's two gaskets that work here. One is around the outside and one was around the inside, okay? So the one that's around the outside actually has a drain location right here. There's about a 1/4 inch that doesn't touch. If water gets in behind this, it'll hit the gasket, travel around, and then drain out the bottom, okay? So when we're finished, we don't need to add any silicone. I can't stand it when I see showers that have silicone around the faceplate. That's not what we're doing here. This seal back here is doing the waterproofing, okay? And even though the tile has got texture and inconsistent, that foam gasket is under a lot of compression. Okay, when you hear that sound, you've gone tight enough. Okay, done. All we gotta do is get the handle on. Now, you see this? This is the dangerous part. Yeah, that's the spot right there. Okay, I'm in the off position. Now, when the handle is over here in the off position, it seems out of alignment. Interesting. Almost like as if this whole fixture is installed on a bit of an angle. So I have an option. I think I'm gonna go here because that, in off position, it sits at 90 degrees, even though it's not off. I know it sounds a little bit crazy, but I like it. All right, now there's a set screw that goes in here, okay? You see this little hole? Okay, there's a machine thread here. That's what the Allen key is for. You put this on here, and then you put this in here. Now, there's no thread on the outside of this body, okay? So there's no thread here. It's all inside only, all right? And so when we go to put this on, this piece of brass is in here, and my set screw can put compression on it in that hole. So instead of trying to fiddle around with this after the fact, I'm going to put it in now, put a few twists on it until I can see it showing up a few threads back, because I don't want to do this 14, 20 times once it's installed. There we go. Now it's ready. Okay. Push it all the way in. You shouldn't be able to see any plastic parts, okay? Here we go. And just think clockwise until it doesn't move anymore. And it's a set screw. So give it some pressure. Let it make a dent in the brass, and that will set the depth so it doesn't slide off over time. The shower head. Generally speaking, I like to have the long side go into the wall, all right? So it's not sticking here like that, okay? That would just look stupid, right? So since it's gonna go in like that, we'll put the cap on, but instead of trying to force it this way, you see these little teeth here? They're designed to create compression. So if you slide it the other way on the long side, sorry, you can then stick it in, and then you can put the compression on. All right, let's just get up in there, get this done. I'm going to need tightening, I need Teflon tape. Now, this is where we find out if this shower has been energized at any point in the last couple months, because it'll spurt out at me and make a mess. But if it was installed while it was in the off position and it hasn't been bumped, oh, golden. Liking that. All right, now the CPVC system has a washer. There's a gasket in there. I've never seen that before, but I also didn't install it, which means it could be 45 years old. So, as a precaution, I'm gonna add myself some Teflon tape. You see I'm putting this on? I'm putting this on clockwise, because I'm installing it clockwise, which continues the pressure on the tape. 1, 2, 3, stretching while you pull it on. 4, 5, 6, 7. Why 7? Well, because there's a gasket. If there was no gasket, I'd go 10. All right, here we go. Let's get this installed. We're gonna go backwards until we feel it sit in. Oh, that was right there at the very beginning. Okay. Now, Teflon gives you a little extra protection for sealing. But what we're doing here is we're gonna put this in until we get resistance from that gasket. I'm actually feeling like that's a good spot. Yeah, I don't know if I could get another full turn out of that. Boom, done. Here is the craziest thing I've ever seen. People tell me all the time, goes, how do I solve my shower head water pressure problem? Well, it's all about water restrictors, okay? Nowadays, everybody wants to put something in the fixture that keeps you from getting good water pressure. Now, is that unthreading? This is just an aerator, okay? It cuts your water pressure, water volume in half. So if you want water volume, get rid of stuff like this. It's not a gasket, it's just a restrictor. It's an aerator, and it slows down how much water is actually coming out of the shower head. The whole world is getting water conscious about how much water they're using. So new fixtures are being water conscious. Now you can put in a shower that like basically drips out if you want to, but I like to have a shower that actually washes the soap out of my wife's hair with the way he renovated the bathroom. So guys, be careful. Ladies, if you're doing your own reno, be conscious. If you want to try it the way it is first, you can. And you can take it out and try it again. And then you too can be amazed at how something as simple as getting rid of the water restrictor can change the quality of the shower. Now the reason I'm putting Teflon tape up here is because I want a gasket. I've had clients in the past complain that they get a little drip coming from here. Yeah. If you're one of those people, go back and watch me do the silicone on the ceiling again, will you? Unbelievable. Dripping from the shower head inside the shower. Wow. All right. Here we go. All right. Now, to make this look pretty, okay, simply take your little tool and get rid of the extra Teflon that's on this valve. All right. I'm going to scratch it all up here. Off the threads. There we go. Okay, from the point where it stops turning, you can unthread the extra Teflon. Don't leave it looking ugly. All right? That's just bonus stuff. Now, the way that we tighten this is with a pair of pliers. In the package, inevitably something will come in a little bubble wrap, okay? Take your bubble wrap, put it around your piece. This is how you keep from getting that one drip. You risk damaging your whole fixture, but you don't want to drip. Okay, baby. Grab a hold of that nut. Give it a quarter turn. That's all you're going to get. All right, and then adjust for perfection. Aha. Okay, there we go. We have our fixtures installed. Now, hey guys, today we're going to be installing a glass shower door system. I'm going to run you through all the different options and teach you, because let's face it, if you've got a shower with a traditional shower curtain, it's ugly, right? It smells. What we're going to do is we're going to say, let's throw the shower curtain out, let's replace it. And you got two options. You either have a full shower system like this, or you've got a tub shower system like this, okay? So when you go, this product is from Home Depot. We'll put the links in the video as well, okay? You can order this online, have it delivered, because this is heavy, it's tempered glass. What you do is you want to just measure for the height of the glass, okay? In my case, I've got a full size, it's a 70-inch. You can buy the shorter version if you've got a tub. Not a problem. So that's step one. Pick the size of glass. This one comes as 2 sliding panels. All right, so step 2 is you got to get your track. This is the side wall and it's the overhead. Now when you're looking at the size of your space, this says it's a 48-inch. What that means is there's 48 inches of glass here. And it fits openings from 43 3/8 to 47 3/8. But the track here has a track on each side that the glass slides into. And so if your hole is just a little bit bigger like mine, it's gonna work out just fine, okay? So it gives you a little bit of mercy. Step 2, it goes from 48 to 60. It covers all the different shower sizes, all right? Almost every major shower standard size out there, this one track is gonna solve for you, and you gotta cut the header down. Step 3 is you pick your handle, all right? The tempered glass comes pre-drilled for your handle assembly. This is a really economical way to get this done. If you wanna get a custom shower door made, you're looking at thousands of dollars, right? And weeks before it comes in. If you go this way, I know it's not quite as sexy, but it gets rid of the shower curtain, it makes your space look big and bright, it's easier to keep clean, and you can install this yourself and have it delivered to your home. So this is a great affordable option, all right? Let's just jump into this, because step 1, of course, is we have to build out our frame. Rule number 1, though, when you're working with metal in your finished bathroom, because door is almost one of the last things to go in, rule number 1 is save a piece of cardboard and put it on the ground. Okay, you don't want to chip tile or chip glaze or have any kind of accidents. All right, let's put all the hardware out here first. Here we go. Now, because the sides, okay, are universal, which means these sides fit this glass every time. We don't have to cut these down. So let's just go through this. All right, I have to cut this to size. Okay, obviously, right? And this is going to be designed so that my sliding door will operate inside of this system. Okay. This is the track. Goes at the end, all right? So we have one concern now when you're measuring is you have to measure from the inside to the inside, okay? So now we already know that we'll put the sides on first and then we'll cut and install the bottom track second, which makes this really simple. Now, if you're like me, you try to cut things relatively level so that installing things like this is simple. I also know from the beginning that putting in my decorative glass, I wanted to have it near the top of the shower because I knew there was going to be a mount somewhere around here. They always come with top, middle, and bottom, okay? Actually get the location of this. This is the biggest trick. Let's assume, because I've got a sill, I've got lots of flexibility here. So I'm gonna try to keep it away from my edge a little bit. There's a hell of a noise then. And let's see. And there's your problem, right there. Doesn't make it. There's a hollow cavity back here, okay? So here's what we do instead. We're just gonna go like this. Now this is dry erase marker, so it's not permanent, okay? Get one of these when you're working on tile. We're gonna put a line where the hole is. We're gonna get our eyes right in front of this again. That's gonna be tricky, it's right next to the grout line. Yeah, and you gotta get down and dirty here to check it, to know where you're going. All right, there we go. There's my 3 holes on that side. I'm going to throw a laser line on that wall, and I have to do it in a flat surface, okay? And I am about 1 inch over from there. Now for continuity for the other side, I'm going to measure back from my outside corner, 2 inches. The hole is at 1 inch, this is a 2 inch, okay. That's a little bit much then. So that's 1 inch. Just exposes that white tile. I like that. Okay, so let's go right on the 2 inch mark. Boom. So now we know. I'm just going to write it on the other side of the wall. And make my intersection point here and here. So now we know where to drill. Okay, we'll just duplicate that for the other side. And then we got to pull out a drill and get ourselves a glass and tile bit. All right. Okay, so I'm going to be using a combination of 2 different bits. One is a glass and tile bit. It's a very sharp tip. It's great on the glaze. And then this one is a diamond tip. This is great for boring the hole for the screw. They're both 1/4 inch, so they'll work together just nicely. This one will do a great job of getting the hole started, and this one will do a great job of finishing the hole without overheating. It's kind of why I use both, because there's no way I'm going to get 6 holes out of 1 bit. They overheat and they're garbage, okay? And I know, and you want to fuss around using water to cool it down and all that jazz all you want, but in my experience, no matter what you do, you're not getting 6 holes out of 1 bit. So you need 2. So you might as well make your life easy. We just start off right on that middle of that spot. This has a very, very sharp tip, so it doesn't run very much if you hold it at 90 degrees. So even on textured tile, we should be able to control this. Get a hole where we want it. Okay. Now, if you're a little off center, you put it in the hole and then you just grab the drill and you kind of lean it towards you because the cutting surface is all around the tip. All right. And so you can bore the hole after you start exactly where you want it. All right. There we go. And that's all we want to get for there. This is glazed. This is ceramic. That's why I love working with ceramic and not porcelain. There we go. Ceramic is much easier to work with, without a doubt. Yeah. So now we want to drill deep enough that we're going through the cement board as well, because the screw that we're going to use isn't really a cement board screw. So we'll create a clean path to the wood behind that. All right. All right, well, we got lucky. There we go. All right, next step is make sure you vacuum up your dust. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna open up our hardware kits now to make sense of everything. First thing they've done, they provide me a bunch of wall anchors. If you need wall anchors when you're hanging a glass door, you didn't build your shower right, these will fail, okay? You're in trouble. But if you have to use it, you fold it down like that and you put it through a pre-drilled hole. Then when you put in the screw will come and pull everything nice and tight and give you resistance, okay? I did a video on wall anchors and showing you their effectiveness. Generally speaking, this will hold in place with the silicone after you're done. So if you silicone everything to your tile or your fiberglass shower unit, you're gonna be just fine. And these just hold things in place in the meantime while it's drying, okay? And if you have to do that, then just put on the 2 side rails and the bottom rail, silicone it all, come back the next day and install all your rails. Because silicone is actually pretty darn structural. And in the world of custom glass, that's all they use to install the glass. Silicone and some 2-sided tape to hold it in place while it's drying. And then after that, the silicone does all the rest of the work. So you can take advantage of that. We will be using some of this. And I have had people tell me over the years, Jeff, you should use silicone in the hole before you put the screw in. And I'm just like, yeah, I guess you could. But really, if you need silicone in that hole, you've done something wrong. I have the wrong side facing out. There we go. This screw should be long enough to go all the way to the wood. And of course it's not. All right, and there's our first problem of the day. This is my mounting screw. It's 1.5 inches, okay? So let's do the math. I got a 1/2 inch of gap. I got a 1/2 inch of tile and cement. I got a 1/2 inch cement board. That's 1.5 inches. Guys, really? Delta? Can you put in some bloody 2-inch screws? Is that too much to ask? I'm gonna run to the store and buy some 2-inch stainless steel screws because that hardware is a fail. Great. I'm gonna walk through the rest of this process and make sure I'm not gonna have any other difficulties. Let's just open up the rest of this and make sure we got what we need to do this right. Okay, that's a door, rail hanging system. This one, almost inevitably, is gonna go here. so that the doors have a track to sit on. We got some short screws for that, perfect. That'll work. Okay, so these go at the top for the track to sit on. Okay, fair enough. Nice. And then these are actually 1, 2, 3, 4. So these are supposed to be bumpers. Here, check this out. The screw head sits inside of it. So, okay. So then you would install your screw with the bumper. And so your glass doors would hit either side of that. That's cute. But then that really makes that screw short, doesn't it? Okay. I'm going to see if I can get some 2.5 screws because that's ridiculous. All right. There we go. I'm glad I checked. I would have had to make a second trip. The only way this works is if you're literally just mounting this into the tile, okay? But whenever you're dealing with ceramic, don't do that. If you can at all, make sure you go all the way through to the wood. Quick trip to the store isn't gonna hurt nobody. Be right back. So now that I've got 2.5-inch screws, I'm going to install the screws in the track through these rubber gaskets that are bumper pad protections for the glass doors at the top and the bottom of each side. In the middle, we're going to install this gray bracket, which is like a receiver for the glass. Again, it acts like a bumper as well, but it also holds it all nice and steady. Once both sides are complete, we're going to cut the bottom trim. We're going to use our chop saw. And the way you would do this is you hold it tight to the fence and you get the saw to maximum speed and you slowly cut through your metal. This will create a perfect factory cut finish on any aluminum extrusion. We're going to repeat that for the top part of this track as well, trying to measure the maximum width as possible, knowing that we could cut it a second time if we had to shave it down. That'll eliminate the need for too much silicone in order to finish off the look. Once that's completed, there is this cute little safety bracket that slides up into the track, rotates over 90 degrees, and then you pre-drill and set your screw. That locks the top track in place and keeps it from being bumped off and having the doors fall all over the place. That's a great safety feature for tall people. Now we're at a place where we've got our glass doors opened up and we're taking a look at our wheels to find out that we have 2 sets of wheels. So these wheels came in box number 1. These wheels came in box number 2. The irony is that they cheaped out on the stainless steel screw length, but then they put in 2 sets of hardware. You know, hey, if the left hand doesn't talk to the right hand, no one knows what's going on, right? I think I like this. This seems to be a more robust wheel. We are going to remove the screws and the nut and the little washer inside. These little things, they go in the glass, okay? And we are going to attempt to install this here. The frustrating part about this is I got big hands and these are tiny parts. So experience pays here. Take your packaging, all right? Pull this stuff out and give yourself some space to work, okay? Very important that your glass never comes in contact with any tile or any metal or any other hard surface. It's tempered glass, and that kind of resistance, it'll just shatter on the spot. And nobody likes it when that happens, I'll tell you right now. The cool thing about this is both of these glass doors are pre-drilled with exactly the same holes. Okay, so we're going to be installing the first piece of glass that goes inside the shower. Now you can confirm with the track, but that means that this wheel will sit up and hang on the track like that. Okay? So the wheels, when they're mounted, actually hang back to back and each have their own track, okay? So that you got to keep that in mind. So what we're going to do is we're going to mount these wheels. This will be the inside of the glass. This side in. Oh, there we go. Just got that sign. Let's position this side in. I actually have this glass in the wrong order. if I'm going to put the wheels on and then walk it inside. Okay. Now we're ready to go. This particular glass comes with corner protectors. We're going to leave them in place for now. Once I got the wheels on, I'll take these two off, and I won't take the bottom ones off until I've got it all installed. Now I'm going to put a finger in behind, put in that little black gasket. All right. Now this is inside. We want this wheel facing the back. We're going to slide that over into position. Okay, and do that to the other side as well. And just hold your thumb over the nut. And you can see that the molding in that plastic there will hold the nut in position. Nice and gentle. Okay, we don't have to over tighten here. Second attempt. Hey, we found the hole, okay. Now, the reason for that little black plastic ring in the middle, it's a compression ring, and what it does is it forces the outside sleeve to have a restriction so it doesn't put too much pressure on the glass, all right? That's that simple. This is where things get interesting. All right, there we go, inside. Now, rest it on your feet, lean it forward, and then lift it up. And get it on that, and you should be able to pull down, okay? And it's just hanging. There we go. Nope, not on that wheel. There we go, now it's working. It actually was hanging on this little wheel here, not this one. That was close. Okay. Now, and this one ought to be a little bit more complicated. Let's see how it goes, because remember, the bottom of this shower has a lip on the front edge. So, let's see if this swings in. Okay. Yeah, it's not gonna clear. Let's get these, we'll lift it straight up now that we've got it inside the track, and straight down. All right, we're still engaged. That was quite simple. Now I'm gonna be really careful here with this, because I'm gonna deviate from your instructions here, because I don't like their design. Here's where I don't like their design. They're calling for me to use silicone and put these plastic tracks and cut them, install them underneath, okay? So that the glass will never come in contact with anything. And I can't stand that look. It just makes everything filthy. What's gonna happen is, over the course of just a few months, that is going to start to discolor, it's going to grab organics, they're going to start to go change color. Remember, organics come in a lot of different shapes and sizes. Something as simple as dead skin or just shampoo getting trapped in that gap is going to attract organics. Here we go. Now, because I installed everything level and square, when you close this shower door, this little pinching mechanism guides it, okay? There's not going to be any contact anywhere with anything else. There's no need to protect it. All right, that's going to work out really well. Matter of fact, I'll install that one right there. Now, I've got these two little short screws to set this in place. And I hate drilling into aluminum without pre-drilling. Okay, this is right in the middle. Now, just to be sure, I'm going to put one screw in, then drill the other side, because I don't want to be out of alignment. There it is. Isn't that crazy? Just gives you one thread. Wow. Okay. That's all it takes though, eh? One thread. Pop that in. Make sure that this isn't going to move around. Whenever you're dealing with plastic parts up against aluminum, if you can avoid the use of silicone, then all the power to you. Remember, this bottom track is not drilled through this plate, so we maintained our waterproofing system. And that means that we don't have to worry about all these other details. Now, okay. Yeah, all right. So right now it's a little shaky. I haven't put my silicone on that bottom piece yet. Once that bottom aluminum track is silicone in place, and I'm going to be siliconing right here. And instead of using white, I'm going to use a clear silicone. Careful, not translucent, okay? Clear dries clear, translucent over time goes yellow. So don't use the cheap stuff. Spend an extra couple bucks and get the clear, all right? Here we go, part number 3. And this should be the easiest part. It's just straightforward. Glass hardware, you get to decide how you want to do this configuration. Both pieces of glass have the same holes, all right? So if you put the towel bar in here, it can't act as a towel bar. But if you put the towel bar over here, then all you've got on the inside is this little tiny handle to open and close your door, which isn't really a big issue. You're gonna be that stubborn? Okay. Somewhere in here there's a key. Oh, looks like we got ripped off. Well, just so you know, glass door hardware kit comes with a little hole, okay? And you're supposed to have a tiny little Allen key for that, so that you can put torque on it to put it in place. Now, unfortunately, this hardware feels a little light duty. Feels a little, how shall we say, aluminum, not brass with a chrome coating. That's disappointing, but not a big surprise at the same time, is it? So, what I'm gonna do, it comes with the same kind of a plastic washer that goes in the hole. Comes from one side, okay, fair enough, okay? So everywhere you see there's a plastic gasket. There's a gasket on the handle, there's a gasket in here, and it acts like a top hat gasket that has a ridge for the other side. All right, so we got to install from here, bring this through, and thread it together. Nice and simple. And to make things really sexy, loosen it up. Okay. So that when you're done tightening it, that little hole is on the bottom, not on the top, so nobody sees it. So that side comes in here with the hat gasket. All right, just get a couple of turns on it here. There's the gasket, and there's the gasket. There's the thread. Before you tighten it up too much, just make sure all the gaskets are in the right position so that everything sits nice and flush. So I'm having a second reservation about this situation here. I'm thinking that if I cut these and stick them on the bottom of the glass, they won't bounce around so much in this track. You know, get rid of the rattle. I'm gonna go cut these on the saw. We're gonna give this a shot. I might not be a big fan, but just seems a little cheap and rattly right now, so what the heck. To install these, of course, I'll have to remove those 2 screws. Not a big deal. They can go right back where they came from because we haven't siliconed anything yet. We're going to take this one out. Okay, let's see how much of a difference that makes. I can already tell it's gonna be huge. All right, and let's see if that changes the dynamic. Yeah, right? That gets rid of that cheap rattly sound. That's, all right. There we go. So do that. Only thing left for me to do now is just run a clear silicone bead. Anywhere I go aluminum to tile, even if the tile is white, I use clear. Okay? There is no need to silicone anything on the inside of the shower. Okay? All we want to do is add some structural support right here on this corner and across the front and then back up this side. No need to go around the tops. No need to goo it all up. Okay? But we do want to have a watertight seal here. So that's the way that we're going to achieve that. That way, when you're having a shower, this overlap here with the shower going this way, it's never going to find its way around the corner. And if you run into that problem down the road, you can always go down to your local glass and shower supply store. They will have all of the transitions for like a plastic edge for here that has a fin. So it'll be a U-channel with a fin on it, and that can seal up to the next glass. Okay? They have all those in stock. This is 1/4 inch glass. They'll have it for 3/8 for 1/2 inch as well. Whatever situation you run into, all right? So don't be afraid to go check. It'll be cheap. It'll be 10 bucks. So feel free to get one of those if you need it. Other than that, I'm just gonna clean up, get my silicone done, and then look forward to having my first shower in here. Yeah, that's right, because when I'm done, I'm moving in here for a couple months to try this place out. Why the heck not? I mean, every once in a while, I gotta spend a few weeks to enjoy these places that I'm renovating, eh? All right. Wow, listen, if that's helpful and you want to learn more about how you can be your own contractor so that you don't have to be dependent on what's going on in the marketplace. I know a lot of people on our channel are starting side gigs, they're becoming handymen, they've done successful projects, they're selling their services. So don't be afraid to, encourage or look out for that kind of information. You can jump in the comments section, hey, does anybody do this, right? Feel free to advertise what state, what city you're in, whatever. And if you got to do it yourself, you got to do it yourself. At least now you can, okay? Because that's the goal. Half the houses in this world are completely more than 40 to 50 years old, outdated, need to be remodeled. They're perfectly legitimate bones. And if you can buy an older house at a much reduced rate and fix up yourself over time, you get to earn all the equity, you get to have all that fun, develop new skills, and you can turn your house into a money-making machine because you don't pay capital gains on the house that you live in. Cheers to next time.